Hello everybody and welcome to the 5 Sauce 5 review. Now, we're going to be doing something a little bit different for this review of sorts because this is the second time I'm recording it. And I'm recording this very, very close to when I intend to have it out. So, because of that, we're going to do something in a little bit more of a traditional vlogger style, if that makes sense. In the sense that this is basically going to be a podcast episode. So I'm going to try and do as very little editing as possible because we have a lot, and I mean like a lot, of content to cover. So I'm going to try my best to speak as eloquently as possible and not go on these crazy tangents and rants that I do that cause the video to get delayed a lot. I'm sorry if the video looks like shit. I haven't figured out a way to get this set to not look bad. It's my bedroom. Spooky YouTuber moment right there. So I'm in a new room, moved 4 months ago, still haven't figured out how to make this place look nice on camera, so we're working with it, we're figuring it out. But anyways, we're here to talk about 5 Sauce 5. Now, I previously talked about Calm. That was the last album I talked about on the channel, was Calm. And we had the 10-year anniversary situation that happened. They celebrated 10 years of being a band, which is great. What a fun little moment for the fans and to, celebrate themselves as an artist. They released the song 2011, which was great. And very soon after that, basically only like a few months later, 3 or 4 months later, is when we get the start of the 5 Sauce 5 era. So what I wrote down here was that it was March 2nd, 2022. I have the classic 5 Sauce notebook, everybody. If you remember, what's it called? Lisa Frank. It's a Lisa Frank notebook. Yeah. I bought this as a joke, kind of, when I was an edgy teenager, and it just kind of sat in a closet for years because I never ended up using it. And when I needed a notebook to write my 5 Sauce thoughts down on, the Lisa Frank one came to life, so, And then I got the other side. This is the Calm notes, actually. Fun fact. And then the rest, but we'll get there when we get there. So, Complete Mess comes out on March 2nd, 2022. Specifically, the music video drops. It drops like at 2 p.m. or something like that. I was there. I did, in fact, get to watch Complete Mess, which was the lead single for the album, drop on YouTube. And I actually had more mixed opinions than one would think. Surprisingly, I guess if you know my history with 5 Sauce, maybe it isn't as surprising, but considering this is, spoiler alert, my favorite album of theirs, that might be where the surprise kind of comes in. So, the thing about Complete Mess is that it's one of their slower lead singles, or just songs in general, and we'll talk about it more, like the lyrical material and stuff, once we get to talking about the album, because it is the first song on the album. But I do think it does a pretty good job of giving the audience an idea of what the new vibe and aesthetic of the band is going to be. They're in their soft pastel era with this one. I spoke about this when I talked about Calm, but this was the real pandemic album for them, whereas Calm, I think, is a better representation of a pandemic album because it literally came out when the pandemic was, first announced, basically, in the United States specifically. And it has that very, moody, sort of introspective energy to it in a way that a lot of other, pandemic albums did as well. And this was actually written as a pandemic album. It just didn't come out until 2022. So it has this sort of, isolated in the middle of nowhere kind of energy with a lot of imagery of Joshua Tree in the desert, because that's what they did, is they just went off into the desert for a couple of months and just worked on the album together. Another important thing to note about this that also gives it that energy of this was written during the pandemic, was the fact that they were independent. They were no longer signed to a record label when this album was being released, and they wrote and composed and produced it basically all by themselves. There was only a little bit of help from 2 to 3 other mixing, mastering, songwriters and people. But the entire album is pretty much produced by Michael Clifford, which is pretty cool. We first saw him get a production credit on 2011 along with John Feldman. I mean, that song sounds amazing. and you could tell because it has that modern John Feldman quality to it, which at the time he had also just produced the Avril Lavigne album, which I think sounded great, even if, it wasn't the best album in the world or anything. Like, it just sounded like, your good classic pop punk. And it also helps that, what's his name? From Blink-182 played drums on there. So, overall, just, I'd kind of been stewing on this idea that, like, pop punk had a slight little revival in 2021, so they were very on trend by going back to their pop punk roots with a song like 2011. But clearly that wasn't the energy they were going for with the new record, which is a good thing. It's better to not regress, you could say, in their sonic palette and such. So, Complete Mess was a good example of how the whole album was going to sound. Very soft, kind of Britpop almost inspired, a little bit of U2 influence, I think, with like the bombastic chorus and all that stuff. I think Michael is a great producer. I like the little notes of like the birds chirping at the beginning. It's a decent song. I was a little bit cool on it just because it felt very different from what they'd been doing in the past. But that's kind of a Five Sauce ism, if you haven't noticed. They like to reinvent themselves with every album, and I think that that's better than just sticking with the same old and being like complacent in mediocrity, essentially. So I appreciate the fact that they're constantly reinventing themselves. Now, around this time, I didn't write it down, which is upsetting, but it was either before or after the second single. They, were doing their standard promo stuff, not as much as like they would go on to do in their next album, Everyone's a Star, but they were doing plenty of promo, your standard interviews and stuff, and they were on the Zach Sang show, which they've done multiple times now. I think ever since Youngblood, they've been on the Zach Sang show, and on that one, they specifically talked about the name of the album. It was brought up from Zach Sang specifically, or his co-host. They were asking, like, are you going to name the album 5 Sauce 5? Because the album title hadn't been announced yet, or when it was going to come out. Neither had been announced. So they were wondering, like, what are you going to name the album? And it was hinted at that they might name it 5 Sauce 5. And then, I think in Times Square, a few days later, or like a week later, there were, they put, like, advertisements of tweets from fans saying stuff like, are you going to name the album 5 Sauce 5? And it was all leading up to the fact that, yes, they were, in fact, naming the album that. I think it's quite charming to make this album another, like, self-titled album, basically, because how they described it in interviews is, like, it basically does feel like the truest version of the band up to that point. So if they could have just named it self-titled, like, they did already, then they would have. But yeah, they already did that with their debut. So I quite like 5 Sauce 5. I like that it's the same forwards as it is backwards. Although I think nowadays we all speculate that the album title would have been The Feeling of Falling Upwards if they hadn't gone with 5 Sauce 5. That was like the closest running album title. And the reason why we think that, I think, is because that was the title that they gave to their Royal Albert Hall performance, which we'll get to. I got my Milton mug, by the way. You'd think I'd wait to use this one until I review Everyone's a Star, but all of my mugs are dirty right now, and I didn't want to wash one, and this one's clean, so I'm using it now. But I'll probably just reuse it for the Everyone's a Star review, because, I mean, the comparison is right there, right? Didn't make a good batch of coffee today, that's for sure. So yes, one thing that I also want to clarify about this era that I find interesting is the fact that they released so many singles. I think it's a clear sign that they were, in fact, no longer super concerned maybe with being, like, pop stars. This is a conspiracy theory, but I'm not getting the foil out. Maybe I'll edit a little PNG of it on my forehead or something. But the fact that they released so many singles before the album came out, that's kind of not a thing we do anymore. I've talked about it a few times already. But traditionally, for pop stars in the modern day, post-streaming era, is you released one single. and then the album comes out, and then you maybe release another single or at least like a video, but then you kind of let the audience pick what the next song is going to be. You pick the song that's getting the most streaming from like the fans, and then that is what you then push to like radio, and you put behind the video and all that stuff. So the fact that they released 5 singles for this album, I think says a lot. And maybe they were doing it on purpose, you know, it's our 5th album, 5 Sauce 5 singles, you know. They would do some Swiftian garbage like that or whatever, just for fun. But the next single, which came out on the 31st of March, is that right? That they released basically 2 singles in 1 month? Complete Mess comes out March 2nd. Take My Hand basically comes out April 1st, you know, an exact month later. And this is one of my favorite songs. Again, we'll get into it once we talk about the album. And I really quite like it. And it was probably not the best idea to release it at the time they did, and I only say that because Harry Styles released the lead single to his album Harry's House, As It Was. He released that song on the same day. So I'm not saying that they're like directly competing with each other or anything, but this is in fact the first ever 5 Sauce single to not chart on the Billboard charts, which is not something I'm going to really bring up ever because the Billboard charts don't really mean anything. I was only clarifying and bringing it up in their previous albums because I think it is notable at that point in time. But now they've evolved artistically and within their fans so much that they don't really need chart success. They've sort of grown past the charts, if that makes sense. And people can disagree with me, but based on how much they're able to go on tour, how their tours sell out, and how much merch they sell and all that stuff, I think it's pretty safe to say that like they don't need the big radio hit to be deemed as successful, if that makes sense. But yeah, if this was going to be a hit, it probably got all of the oxygen sucked away from it by Harry Styles. So, just some food for thought there. That ended up being one of the biggest songs of that year. So there you go. After that, the Take My Hand tour is announced. And the thing about the Take My Hand tour, which is pretty interesting, is the fact that it was basically supposed to be the No Shame tour that had just been rescheduled until 2 years later. This happened with pretty much like all artists who had announced a tour for 2020 when the pandemic happened, is that they all ended up just slowly being rescheduled into 2022. But by this point, obviously, 5 Sauce had started a new album era, so they just rebranded it as a 5 Sauce 5 era tour instead of a Calm era tour. So that's how we get from the No Shame tour to the Take My Hand tour. And this tour went from April 3rd to December 10th, 2022. So for the rest of the year, they're basically on this tour. And in September, they do some stops for some album promo performances as well, but we'll get there. So yeah, throughout the rest of the promo, they are on tour. The tour is happening, which is something that they had done previously with Sounds Good, Feels Good. But in that era, it seemed like it was because they were just so heavily being just like pushed around and just like overscheduled, basically. Like, we can't give these guys a moment of rest. We have to squeeze every penny out of them. So we got to start the new album cycle while the tour for the previous album cycle is still ongoing, and then announce a tour for the current album cycle while the previous tour hasn't even ended yet, right? Like, it was quite chaotic. I described it in that video that I made all the way back then. So, but this time it was, because the tour had been delayed by 2 years. And this tour is one of my white whales, because I'd re-become a fan of 5 Sauce. I had considered going to see them live for the Meet You There tour, and I just didn't because it wasn't convenient for me. They haven't come anywhere near me yet, but nowadays I just hop on the car and we do a road trip because I got to get my ass over there to the performance. But yeah, back then I couldn't do such a thing. But the Take My Hand tour is the one that I'm upset that I didn't get to go see, because I think that was probably one of their best tours, one of their best sets, at least in my opinion. It looked really cool, and the set list, super jealous. I think my favorite thing they did on the Take My Hand tour was the transition from easier into more. They do like a little bit of a guitar solo, Luke and Michael, and then it just goes into more, and it just sounds so good. Easier sounds great live. I'm glad that they're finally able to like put it on a set list on tour. Same thing with Wildflower. They did a really cool instrumentation of Wildflower that I thought was nice. So yeah, Take My Hand tour, great. I love the cone. We gotta meet in the cone, everybody. Make sure we go meet in the cone, right? So after that, on May 11th, 2022, we get Me, Myself, and I as the next single with a video. I don't think Take My Hand got a video. It got like a visualizer, but I don't think that was an official music video. So we get the next official music video with Me, Myself, and I. And I love this song. Famously, I think it was my most listened to song of 2022, which is saying something considering how often I listen to other songs a lot, but especially Five Sauce songs. So yeah, this is one of my favorites of the whole album, and it was a pretty good radio hit. I remember hearing it on the radio quite often. It's definitely the more trendier sounding song. A lot of artists like Justin Bieber, I think, and maybe like fellow Australian, the Kid Laroi, we're kind of doing a sound like this. It sounds a little Olivia Rodrigo-ish, but it still sounds very Five Sauce, and it plays to the album really well. I mean, like, you know, they're not doing the extreme trend chasing anymore, in my opinion. So I could appreciate that at least. And after that, we just get them going on tour. They are really sort of present on social media in a way that they probably hadn't been previously. We get the tour diaries, of course, which are their own thing. They've been doing tour diaries since the very beginning and consistently have uploaded at least like a handful of vlogs for every tour they've been on. So they're doing that. But they're also posting TikToks for the first time, because this is the first time that like TikTok and like social media presence in that specific way is like a thing. And obviously they don't have a label, so they're not like required to post TikToks at this point in their career. But they were still doing their funny little irreverent thing. They had really started doing this when they did their 10-year anniversary special. They were like hinting at it happening, or the fact that, you know, something was going on, by just like, while they were filming it, just like posting little videos of them in costume and stuff. So while they're on tour, they release more singles, because of course they do. Specifically, the single Blender is released, I think, at this point in time. Yes, Blender is released, and the music video for it is a recording of a live show that they were doing. So, you know, visually showing that like they were on tour. And again, just such a great song. I can't say that every single is my favorite song on the album, because the entire album is so good. But this one is very lush in its production. I'll get into it. But this was a great song to release as a single, in my opinion. If we were to like trim down the amount of singles, I would still say keep Blender as one of them, because it's a stellar track, you know. And it really played well to pop music at the time, while still, again, not being like out of place on the album or sounding like too dated. It definitely doesn't sound dated to me. I mean, I could still pinpoint it probably as like a song that came out in the 2020s, but outside of that, it plays really well for the future of them as a band, is what I'm trying to say. But anyways, then we get that was released. I should have said when it was released. What did I not write it down? I didn't write down when it was released. It was released at some point in time, but the album is set to come out September 23rd. So they start doing some fun, exciting things to lead up to the album dropping. And one of the big things that they announced was that they were going to be doing a live performance, a one-night-only show at Royal Albert Hall. Now, this is specifically important to the Five Sauce fan. I mean, Royal Albert Hall is like a pretty big and important venue. It's like one of the greats, right? So like the best of artists have all performed there, you know. And what makes it special for Five Sauce specifically is the fact that I think like the same week, or just like around the exact same time, 10 years ago at the time, so 2012, when they had just landed in London for the first time, one of the first things they did was do a live acoustic little performance in the parking lot, or just like, you know, at the park across the street from Royal Albert Hall. So there's this photo of them in 2012, like posing in front of Royal Albert Hall. And so it feels like a full circle moment that 10 years ago, they were performing in the parking lot of the venue, and 10 years later, they were performing inside the actual venue. So, and this was like a pretty big performance. They were going to have a full string orchestra and a full choir, and it was supposed to be a very classy, very, proper event. Very perfect for this specific era. I feel like for all the other eras, both previously and now in the future, it wouldn't have the classiness of playing at Royal Albert Hall. Maybe wouldn't have played in as much to the era as it does for this one. So that performance was absolutely stellar. There's actually a live recording of it on Spotify, and they did a live stream event where, like, in real time during the performance, I think, they had a live stream for people you had to pay to watch it. I think you had to pay it was kind of expensive, like $20, and if you paid for it, then you would get like access to a little Q&A that I think they had pre-recorded beforehand that would play before the performance. And I paid for it. I specifically was not going to, because for 72 hours afterwards, if you paid like $5 or $10 or something, you could watch a recording of it. But I caved in, and I paid to see it live. And I sat there in front of my laptop at my, in my room, and I cried 6 times. It was a great performance. They played a lot of new songs that had not been released yet. Five Sauce love to do this. They love to play a song that has not been released yet. While they were on tour, they were famously playing Blender before it was released as a single, and Easy for You to Say. So they just love doing that. And you know what? I don't mind it, because it's not necessarily a spoiler. I mean, you're hearing the song for the first time, but you're not hearing the studio version. And I feel like that just kind of changes it a little bit and makes it a way for you to get like a little sneak peek, like a little secret sneak peek that, no one else does, just the fans know about, or if you, went to the show, while still not getting like spoiled for the album or anything, or feeling like you like don't have to listen to it now because you already heard it or whatever. So they played, this happened on September 22nd, 2022, so the day before the album dropped. For me, because of my time zone, albums drop at 10 p.m. instead of midnight. So I remember that day, after I bawled my eyes out, and I felt like a different person, like I entered a new stage of my life after watching the performance. I then went to my friend's house, and they all had like a stony kind of like outdoor hangout session. And because I don't do that kind of stuff, I was sitting in the kitchen listening to the album, baking cookies for them. So that's a distinct memory I have tied with this album. Oh, another little anecdote, I might as well go on, was also when I was for 2011, when 2011 dropped, it was, December, so it was Christmas time, but it was 2021, so a lot of stuff was still kind of closed, so my friends and I weren't really doing, like, these big parties or events that we, were doing a year later. So I got in a car with one of my friends, and we, like, went door to door handing out all of our Christmas gifts for each other, like exchanging them. And I was like, while we were in the car, I was like, do you guys want to hear the new Five Sauce song? Because these are my friends of the podcast, Sal and Shy, if you know them well, I'm pretty sure at this point. And Sal has always been into Five Sauce with me, but he was always more of like a lower, I like a few songs kind of thing. That was kind of their vibe. And Shy had pretty much known nothing about them, because we really became, she knew me during the disaster years of stand-up, but then I'd kind of become a hater, so I hadn't like really pushed my Five Sauce agenda on her, and that was the first time I played that song, and I was like, you want to hear Five Sauce? And that was the first time that Shy's ears were piqued, or perked up to being open to listening to Five Sauce. Cut to 2023, and I have corrupted the youth. I've corrupted the minds of my friends. They are now huge, deep into the Five Sauce stand-up along with me. So, I'm spreading the good word. What can I say? But anyways, yes, Five Sauce Ono was great. It is great. Like I said, I bawled my eyes out. And it was truly just an elevated moment for the band that I think they really did deserve to be, propped up as these classy, quote-unquote, proper musicians. Because I think so much of Calm, for the critics at least specifically, had an air of tackiness to it, And this kind of reoriented themselves, kind of rebranded themselves as like, you know, proper musicians in a way. And not that what the critics say ever matters, okay? I want to make that very clear. But it is notable that Five Sauce Five, to this day, as far as I'm aware, is their best reviewed album. It's the one that the critics like the most, and that's a bit stereotypical too. Like, of course, the Pitchfork people like it when they do the YouTube Britpop thing and not when they're, you know, being interesting and dark and spooky with Calm or anything like that. But, you know, I think it is notable that, like, a lot of the moves they were making at this time, I think, were aligning themselves to kind of be reinterpreted by the public. And it maybe wasn't as flashy as some of their other eras, but I think it was important. It was an important step for the band to make at the end of the day. So we really appreciate that. So the album comes out on September 23rd. And then on September 24th, we get them performing at the iHeartRadio Daytime Festival. Now, this probably I wouldn't need to notice because they played, I think, one other festival a year later, the When We Were Young festival, which I'll talk about. But, like, it's the only reason why I'm noting it is because it's one of my favorite Five Sauce performances. It's just a little 30-minute set at a daytime festival. But, like, the songs they pick are stellar, the performance is stellar, there's a lot of stands in the audience, which really makes it better. Because usually for festivals, you know, you're kind of playing to a grab bag of people. You don't know who you're playing to, because anyone shows up to festivals, right? But there were a lot of the Five Sauce fan in the front row, that's for sure, the barricade. So it was a great performance, and that's the reason I'm mentioning. We got the Easier to More transition. They played Complete Mess, and was that the only new song that they had played? I think Complete Mess was the only one. But it's just a really great performance, so I thought I'd mention it. Just like, and it's so different. It's like a classic, like, festival, you know, performance where, you know, you have the chunkier guitars and you have the showy kind of stuff that's just going to get people moving and jumping and having a good time at the concert, at the show, no matter if they're a fan or not. But then you have, like, the Royal Albert Hall performance, which is, like, super classy. Again, anyone who isn't a fan of Five Sauce can still appreciate that elevated element with the strings and the choir and stuff. Yet it's still is, like, really speaking to the fans specifically. Like, they play deep cuts, you know, that, you know, if you only listened to the album and you're a fan of the album, you would understand and appreciate them playing for both performances. But yet the contexts are completely different. So all I'm trying to say is that they had evolved so much and so brilliantly as artists, as performers, as live musicians. They had just evolved so much more. And the fact that they hadn't played a show in, like, over 2 years before they'd gone on this tour and all of this had happened is notable as well, I think. So they really worked hard on being a good live band and making a good album and evolving as artists. And that's pretty cool. Okay, everybody, it's time to get a little bit serious now, because we're going to start talking about the album. Now, I've already said that this is my favorite album of theirs, so because of that, I am going to go a bit wild when talking about it. I'm gonna spend some time talking about each song. And I know that because I've already done this, and I've recorded like 3.5 hours of me just talking about the album. So I'm gonna try and reduce that a little bit, just a little bit, you know, because I don't want this video to be ungodly in length. No one really needs that. Unless you want it, then I'll do more later on, though. But because of that, I realize that I'm going to talk for a while, and I need to ground the discussion that we have in a sense of reality. Because I don't know about you guys, but I feel like there's been an elephant in the room this entire time that I just haven't been acknowledging for good reason, for my own sanity, and also just because it didn't feel right. I'd been hinting at, hence the reason why it's like there's an elephant in the room. Like, we all know it's there, and it's big and it's loud, but, like, we're just not talking about it. But we're now here, we're going to talk about it, because I think we have to, just to even make sense of how I'm going to review this thing. There are some more controversial topics regarding Five Sauce that I have notably not touched on too much, not because it wasn't important to mention, but because I wanted to wait till right now to talk about it. Both, like, mentally, as in, like, my brain, I had to think about it a long time and think about how I wanted to say what I wanted to say and what my true opinions were on the matter. And also because it only really makes sense to talk about it now because in the music it's being brought up. It wasn't really being brought up as much in the lyrics and in the songs previously. And famously, these videos are about the music at the end of the day, with context provided, of course, as well on top of it. But since these videos are about the music, it doesn't feel right to bring up the fact that they were disasters in their personal lives, because it wasn't something they were writing about. And now they're writing about it. And I mean, they were writing about it a little bit in Young, Blood, and Calm, which is why I mentioned it. But now it's basically what the whole album's about, so I have to talk about it now. There's a sort of big three of controversial topics that I feel as though I have to clarify my opinions and stances on before we go any further. And those big three things are, if I'm reading off my list here, drug use, messy relationships, aka infidelity, and sadness and depression. As well as the parasociality element of it all. So this is a bit serious, and let's just get into it, okay? I will only be discussing these more darker, in-depth topics in relation to the music, as always, because famously, I don't know Five Sauce, they're not my friends, I've never met them before, I probably never will, God, I don't even think I want to at this point, and I don't know them at all, and I don't know anything about them outside of what has been shown to me. I am just someone who likes to talk about them as artists and their music on the internet. So because of that, all I have are the lyrics, and famously, I don't want to be bringing up pap photos and tweets from like a bajillion years ago, or stuff that they posted on social media and then deleted, or things that their ex-partners have said. I'm aware of all of it, trust me guys, I know all the deep lore, but I just don't want to talk about it, because it makes me uncomfortable. Famously, I talked about how I started scripting this video in 2021, and then I wanted to get it out by the time the Five Sauce era was pretty much done. Once the tour was done, once the Five Sauce Show tour was done in late 2023, December, I was like, video's gonna get done, it's gonna happen, it's gonna come out in December. And then I did a lot of research. I went deep. I stalked them, basically. Let's be honest here. Let's say what the real words are. I stalked them on Instagram and Twitter. And I learned a lot of stuff that made me really sad and upset. And then I had to wait a couple of months. I put it on pause for 2 months. And I made a video about Radio Rebel and stuff instead, because that was my happy place. Radio Rebel is famously my happy place. Nothing makes me more joyous than thinking and talking about and watching Radio Rebel. But yeah, I waited until the She Looks So Perfect 10-year anniversary to finally start this whole series, because the timing was just too perfect. But this video series would have been at least 4 months earlier in time if I hadn't learned a lot of really sad stuff, or stuff that made me sad about their personal lives. So that was the biggest reason why I'm never going to talk about their personal lives. I'm not going to talk about their partners outside of just the most basic of information, Luke's now wife is featured on a song on this album. And that's about as far as I'm going to go when talking about, or Michael's now wife, or Michael's now kid. I have no reason to talk about that, anything to do with their personal lives, as far as just simple basic facts. So I want to make that very clear, first of all. And second of all, I won't be really diving into the past, at least in this video. I would love to make a sister songs style video where I talk about songs that relate to cheating or songs that relate to drug use all the way back at the beginning of their career. Just fully steal Evolution of a Snake's whole vibe and aura for no reason. But we won't be doing that here. We'll just be talking about it in relation to this album, because this video will be even longer, just ungodly in length, and we don't need that. Okay, we got to move on from the Five Sauce 5 era eventually, because we're gonna talk about Everyone's a Star very, very soon. So there we go. So the other thing about these controversial opinions is that, and this is where we really get into the parasociality of it all, is that I have no desire or intention to condemn the bad or negative things that are depicted as the authors of these songs doing. I have no reason to judge or say it's time for you to unstan everybody, because this is things that Five Sauce talk about in their music, and that means that they've done it in their real lives. I famously said that obviously their music is going to be composite sketches and autobiographical inherently, and that it's a disservice to say that it's not, that they just made it all up, because that emotional truth that's based in reality is what makes the music so good at the end of the day. However, I just don't find any sport in canceling an artist for something that they said that they did and are extremely remorseful about and sad about in their music. I think there's a huge element of fandoms and parasociality that comes into play with specifically grabbing the pitchforks and the flamethrowers, or like what are they called? The flame sticks, fire sticks, whatever. Getting your pitchforks out and going on the crusade to cancel an artist because they cheated on a partner once, or because they did something really bad while high on drugs. Like, I find no sport in doing that. We're all human beings. There's extremely complicated reasoning and situations behind every situation of something that is, a bad thing that has happened. And because we're all human, and especially because so many of these songs are from a remorseful side of things, from a remorseful point of view, a guilty point of view especially. There's a lot of guilt on this record. It just doesn't inspire me to want to, hate them or be angry about it. And the biggest reason for me as well as to why I'm not going to do this is because people do these crusades specifically so they feel better about themselves, because morally they will become better if they prop themselves up as better than someone else. And I think a lot of people in fandom or just on social media in general like to do this because they have no self-esteem of their own, and the only way to see themselves as good and honest people that they like is to say that they have good politics and that they're woke and all this stuff. So it's like, if you need me to tell you that I think cheating is bad for you to feel good about watching my videos, then there you go. I think cheating is bad. And I don't condemn it in any way whatsoever. I don't condemn drug use. I don't, I want to make that very, very clear. But also I shouldn't have to, if that makes sense. And I think that's part of the problem, of people feeling as though, that they need that from their fans. And I understand politically we're in such a specific point in time to where I'd rather be on the end of over-clarifying and making my stance clear than having people think that I'm not saying something for a reason. And so that's the point where I am as a creator on the internet. But, like I said, I feel no reason to judge an artist for the things that they say in their music. A big part of why I don't talk about their relationships also specifically is because famously, fandom and standom have been well known to harass, bully, send death threats to, etc., to their significant others and partners over time. Because of, again, that deep and intense parasociality that's built into the loaf, essentially, of the artist, from their management and stuff all the way back in the beginning of their career. So it's a very, very common phenomenon to see, and they're commenting on this in the modern day, and I can't wait to discuss it in this similar vein once we talk about Everyone's a Star. But they are discussing, this idea that a lot of individual fans see a member of Five Sauce as, their boyfriend. That's my boyfriend. That is my significant other. We're just not, he just doesn't know it yet, but, we're meant to be together. And then when they start dating someone else, or they're maybe not, they're in a messy relationship, they kind of sleep around or whatever, then it's like they've broken the trust, the agreement that they were together secretly, right? And this is all very unconscious, and it's also done by a lot of adolescents, so it's its own thing that, I don't want to get into, and I never want to blame the fans specifically for this and say that, they're bad people because they've done this. Again, because then we circle back around to that other thing of, we're all human. I find no sport in judging and hating on people for bad behavior that they've done. Because I'm a human being too, and we all make mistakes, okay? So that plays a big part into why people get so mad when we call out or we discuss maybe negative things artists have done in their past, because there is such like a infantilization and a purity projection that fans put onto those artists, again, manufactured by the record label to sell more copies of their albums to artists. Like, this has become so obvious with the whole K-pop thing and the J-pop, industry, that whole industry of K-pop and J-pop and all that stuff, I think really makes it more obvious to people when this has been going on for decades now. And at least J-pop is honest about it. I think we can appreciate that K-pop at least is willing to like let you know that this is what they're doing. And I think that there is some the honesty is better at the end of the day. And you can use that information, to stand in your own way. But I don't know much about K-pop, so I feel bad even mentioning it in the first place. But anyways, I think it is very, very important to discuss these more negative sides of the music and the artist persona, because it is to devalue them as an artist, to not to discuss about, and to just prop up as perfect, pure, innocent beings. And at the end of the day, limits artistic freedom, I think. It imbues this sort of knowledge in the artist that they can't discuss. They can't make the art they actually want to make, which might be a little bit darker, which might talk on and touch on things that they're not proud of, doing, but feel the need to express in their art, out of fear of getting online internet hate. Like, all of this so doesn't matter. The art is what matters. Art is what transcends time and space and exists forever, not the squabbling on Twitter and Instagram and TikTok and all that stuff, right? So I hope we're all aware of that, okay? We will not be judging. We will just be listening and analyzing and interpreting and understanding. Because as Jesus Christ, friend of 5 Seconds of Summer, has said before, "Ye who is free of sin may throw the first stone." I hope everyone's putting down their stones right now, because who are we to judge when we all do bad things at the same time? We should all be kinder and more open and honest with each other. Anyways, hopium aside, let's talk about the album, everybody. I'm so excited. Like, I'm excited but also nervous because, well, I've already done this before, so the nerves are kind of, worn off a little bit. But also, I just, this entire video has been me leading to this moment where I'm like, how am I going to discuss 5 Sauce 5? In the same way I talked about with Sounds Good Feels Good. I was like, how am I going to talk about Sounds Good Feels Good when it means so much to me and it has such a little special place in my heart? Like, how am I going to properly talk about it without getting my actual feelings across, without sounding like an idiot, I guess. I don't know. I feel like the only way to do it is to just do it. I'm never going to say the perfect exact thing I want to say. It's never going to happen unless I just start saying it. So, yes, here we are to talk about 5 Sauce 5. This is the deluxe edition, special booklet that comes with the lyrics and stuff, and I've annotated this shit like it's a real book, which is really funny. The CD is in the back, of course. I actually own another copy of this album. I own 2 copies, I know. I really wanted a standard edition and then a deluxe edition, because, I can't carry this in my backpack when I take my CD player out and I listen to the album multiple times in a row while I'm out doing my everyday life. So I have, a normal standard edition version of the album. But this one has all the lyrics in it and it's blown up, so let's talk about Complete Mess and let's deep dive into the lyrical material. Like I already said, I like the sort of light and airiness, the quality of the song and how it has that bombastic chorus while still, being very, very light in a sense. And specifically, I do think it does contrast quite interestingly with the lyrical material, which is the case for every single song, is quite dark and describes something a little bit more nuanced and complicated and messy. Messy is the word I'm going to use a lot, I think. I'm just going to be like, this is messy. There's so much messiness going on here. So specifically, I feel like this song describes a relationship that is an emotional roller coaster. The term emotional blender is going to be used in the song Blender. So, these songs kind of have they're kind of describing a similar situation in a sense, but in much different tones, which I think is very fascinating and interesting to look at. So the beginning of it is caught up in heaven, but your heaven ain't the same, and I've never been a saint, have I? So this kind of, to me, describes this idea of being in a good place in a relationship, but it not really like clicking as much because you guys have different definitions of what like a good relationship is. And then with saying never been a saint have I is like your version, the author's, the narrator's version of heaven is like the worst the worst version, I guess you could say. Heaven being like the good relationship, like the good place in the relationship. They're not on the same page as to what their relationship should be. And the narrator is kind of admitting that their end of things is a little bit less heaven like because they've never been a saint, implying that it's a little bit darker. And then this evanescence, always fleeting like a flame, but I'm never one to change, am I? So this sort of like good part of a relationship, shout out to using the word evanescence in a song. I appreciate that. I love it when big words are in pop songs. It's always fleeting, like it's leaving them. And then I'm never one to change, am I? It's like, well, I'm not going to do anything to stop that good feeling from leaving our relationship. Or I'm the one who's causing the problem and I'm not doing anything to stop it. Very messy, very complicated. Interesting admission of like a blame here in a way, And this is all done very poetically. That's the beauty of this album, that so much of it is done in a very poetic sort of, not even obfuscated way, but just like you got to pay attention to really pick up on it, right? And then the pre-chorus, call it a lesson when I feel you slide away and I'm missing out on half my life. To me, that describes like the relationship being over, the other partner leaving them basically, and call it a lesson being like, I've learned my lesson when you've left me and then you've now come back. Like this relationship is currently happening, but it has been on the rocks and it has slipped and has kind of ended previously. And the fact that I'm missing out on half my life, to me speaks to the relationship like lasting a long time. Like it's gone on for so long that they don't really know that it should not exist anymore. It's very codependent in that sense. We're gonna get into codependency so much more as this album goes on. And then the chorus, you make me complete, you make me a complete mess. I'm not wearing the shirt today because I just didn't want to be bothered to change my clothes, but I do have the You Complete Mess t-shirt. That was, I think, an Urban Outfitters t-shirt that Luke wore all the time back in 2014, and they then sold as merch for when this album came out, and I did buy it, so I do have the 5 Sauce merch. I just couldn't be bothered to put it on, so I'll insert a picture of myself wearing it, I guess, because, yeah, like I said, can't be bothered. The chorus and that flip of you make me complete, you make me a complete mess reminds me a lot of that song by Lit. Do y'all remember Lit? A classic like 2000s pop punk band. And they have a song called Miserable, and I kind of love that song, I'm not gonna lie to y'all. It's like a classic, I in my opinion, kind of like 2000s emo pop punk sound song, and it has a similar, slightly more rude interpretation of that in the chorus. So I don't know if that's an inspiration point or anything, but yeah, I think it's great. So Complete Mess is a good single. It's a little bit slow. I think it's interesting to note that they did not have it on the tour set list for the 5 Sauce show, even though it was the lead single for the album that they technically were promoting for that tour. I think that's notable, but I think it works really well as like an opener for the album to like get you primed on what this whole album is going to be about. So the next song is Easy for You to Say, which, can I just rant for a little bit? There's like 2 songs on this album where in the lyric book they don't have the lyrics, like all of the lyrics. I don't know if there's just like an error or something, but they just like don't have the lyrics for the first part of the first verse for Easy for You to Say. Maybe they just got like accidentally cut out or something. But luckily I have them memorized. So the beginning lyrics are, I see it in moments, it's coming in waves. A sunrise in Sydney that's burning for days. But I'm headstrong and stubborn and stuck in my ways. I know that you saw it all over my face. Now, to me, these lyrics speak to reminiscing on your childhood or just reminiscing about the past. I mean, we get the specific moments of talking about like a sunrise in Sydney, which they're from Australia, they're from West Sydney or whatever. So like that's a very specific moment that I think speaks to like the broader grandeur, right? Because seeing it in moments and coming in waves, right? Like it conjures that imagery of like when you get like those pings of nostalgia, right? I think that's the literal definition of nostalgia is like the sort of pings that you get, this like painful yet nice feeling of remembering the past, right? And so like the first verse does a really great job of conjuring that image of like getting a wave of nostalgia rushing over you. But then saying like I'm headstrong and stubborn and stuck in my ways, and I know that you saw it all over my face, like it leans into that like regret of childhood, a regret of what you're seeing and remembering of the past, right? So I think this song is really kind of about like the complications of nostalgia and regret / anger over a complicated past, pretty much. And a lot of this to me speaks to like being a child in the industry. As a band, they started out when they were like 14, 15 years old. So to me, a lot of it speaks to like being a child in those and having to like work in the industry and stuff. And so the rest of the next line really speaks to that the most to me. A youth that was stolen and filled with mistakes. I turned all around, looked for someone to blame, but I'm overdramatic and drenched in my pain. I know that you saw it all over my face. Those first two lines, a youth that was stolen and filled with mistakes, I turned all around, looked for someone to blame, I think really speak to that idea of like being a child actor, essentially, being a child star, but like asking for it. They chose it. It wasn't like they, were thrown into the industry without their knowledge or without their consent. They chose this, and yet it like stole their youth away, and they can't blame anyone for it. And there's just a huge like back and forth conversation being had here with saying like I'm over dramatic and drenched in my pain, saying like calling my youth stolen from me, is over dramatic, like a dismissal of those very true feelings, all within like one stanza, basically one chunk of lyrics. It's really really interesting and complex, honestly. It's really well written stuff. We weren't getting this kind of writing material on any of their previous albums. We saw a little bit of it in Calm, that they had started to evolve, but so much of that album was written very fast. I think they said they wrote it in like 2 months or something. They like really really just rushed into getting that out because they started making it because they wanted to capitalize on Youngblood's success. And then of course the record label squandered all of that good time and that stuff. So, but we talked about that in the previous video. So the chorus is easy for you to say, harder for me to take, this nostalgia in my bones, why can't I forget it? Now, something I think we should ask is, who is the audience for this song? Who is you? Easy for you to say. Who could you possibly be? One of my interpretations is that it's the fans, maybe. That it's the, or just like a partner even. A therapist, it could even be just somebody who is maybe asking questions like, well, why are you so sad? What's with all this depression? And it's like, why can't you get over this stuff? It's like, well, it's easy for you to say. Like, no one understands me. No one gets me. Trust me, I can relate to that classic emo feeling of no one understands me. So I kind of appreciate a very poetic version of that, basically, in this song. And then that line of this nostalgia in my bones, why can't I forget it? That line really hits me. Like, that's messed up. This whole album is messed up with just how depressing it honestly is. Yeah, this idea of like the nostalgia in your bones, like you feel the aching reflection of your past, and you can't. It like haunts you. It's like, why can't I forget it? It's haunting them in this song. Very very intellectually fascinating. The next verse is a darkness that holds me and loves when I bleed. It locks all the doors and then hides all the keys. I wish someone had told me what I couldn't see. A glimmer of hope that was staring at me. So, sorry, I just like viscerally reacted to the depression of this song. Well, like that's what they're describing here is depression as the darkness that holds me and loves when I bleed. Like it loves to see me upset and sad. It's it's so sad. And there's something that's really kind of thrilling about it to me. Listen, some people have roller coasters, some people have scary movies. I can't stand scary movies. I can't stand roller coasters. But I love something that is just perfectly crafted to make me depressed as hell, to make me feel sad. Because I'm in a safe environment listening to these songs. I'm not actually in a depressing situation. I'm in the comfort of my bed, feeling real sad. So I appreciate how depressing so much of this album is. But I understand if that's not for everybody. But there's just something so emo about this project, even more than Sounds Good Feels Good, which was definitely trying to like go for that vibe in a sense. Like, but anyways, yeah, there is just something so just longing and pining about this song in a way that I think really, again, like speaks to the story of Five Sauce while also still, being just like this universal feeling that I think a lot of people were really attaching themselves to during the pandemic of like reflecting on their lives now that they were forced to stand still. They had the privilege to be able to stand still and not have to worry and just be inside with their families, and contemplate all of the things that they did in their lives. So I find it to be like a very prescient thoughts and opinions kind of moment for the album. Next, we're going to talk about Bad Omens, the song that will make me cry. This is definitely my Five Sauce cry song, that's for sure. I think this song would have been my number one song of 2022 if it wasn't for the fact that My Chemical Romance released a song that year. Like, I'm really hoping Five Sauce will get that number one. They've never had a number... To update you guys if you don't know, every year I do a top 50 songs of the year, and I have pretty basic taste, so it's like not that... There's not a lot of, real eclectic stuff on there. But I usually do a top 50 songs that I've heard of the year, and obviously I don't listen to, like, everything, so, again, pretty basic stuff. But... pretty much, I've been doing it since 2017, so it's been a while now, and, Five Sauce have released 3, about to be 4 albums since then, and they've never had a number one song from me, because I was a hater, famously, for Youngblood and Calm, and maybe if I were to go back in time, one of those songs would have been number one instead, but at the time, they ended up in the top 5, I think, but were never fully number one. And this was the time they could have gotten the number one for this era. It would have been, but it just so happened that My Chemical Romance released a song for the first time in like 15 years. So it's not really fair to Five Sauce at the end of the day. So let's hope they get it for 2025. We'll have to see. Bad Omens was really close, though. This is, I think... I mean, like, based on the fact that it was number 2 for the whole year, it's the best song on the album, I guess. But... that's kind of hard for me to quantify. So, the actual lyrical material. This was another single, wasn't it? This was another... I was going to talk about the singles that came out after the album once we were done talking about the album. So we'll get there when we get there. But this one had a really great video. It's a great song. I'm glad they gave it the love it deserves by, like, promoting it a little bit more. So this song is basically codependent relationships, the anthem. It's about an extremely codependent relationship, and a relationship that like should not be going on anymore, because the partner, the narrator is describing how the partner is like ready for the relationship to end, but the narrator just can't let it go, and it's just painfully, beautifully sad. So the beginning starts with, so this is where I am, hanging on a feeling, driving through the valley just to chase the pain again. So this is where we are. I should have seen it coming. Every time we say goodbye, I say hello again. So you see how there's a shift in the audience and the direction and in the pronouns. It says every time we say goodbye, we break up, I say hello again. So I come crawling back to you to start the relationship again. So it kind of speaks to that one-sidedness of continuing the relationship. But of course, the partner then goes back into it, so speaks to that as well. So. Then the pre-chorus is, I cried in your dark brown eyes for the 1,000th time, 'cause you love somebody. I died when you left that night for the 1,000th time, 'cause you love somebody else. That else drags into the rest of it when it kind of, it goes up in an octave, and it kind of like emphasizes the rest of the lyrics more, which is, I tried to stop the door as it was closing. It was closing. I can't help the way I keep ignoring every omen. Every omen. Heaven knows I should let go. It's nothing that I don't already know. So it's talking about the bad omens of the relationship, all of these red flags, literal red flags, they use in the music video like red, like literal like red cloth to describe like the red flags of the relationship, you know? And yet they keep ignoring every omen and just keep going back into this relationship, even though they know it's no longer a good relationship. And then the second verse is, I kiss you on your neck. You were staring at the ceiling. I should have known right then and there you were a runaway. That's depressing. So depressing that the CD fell out. I got so depressed that the CD fell out. Let's just put this somewhere else so we don't have to worry about that. Okay. Yeah. Damn, that's so sad. The visuals, the distinct visual imagery of, you know, you're kissing someone's neck and they're staring at the ceiling and knowing from that, so sad. So sad. And then, just make it go away. Can you help me rearrange it? I'm still making sense of having nothing left to save. God, it's so sad. It's amazing. I love it. Can you make it go away? Can you help me rearrange it? It's like, can you help me rearrange my feelings I have for you? Can we somehow like change the way we understand each other so we can, you know, like not feel this way anymore? And I'm still making sense of having nothing left to save. It's like, I still can't understand that there is literally nothing left to this relationship anymore. Like, I'm so used to finding excuses basically, and I'm not used to not having any more excuses left. Yeah, God, it's horrible. That is just so horrible. And then the bridge, a great bridge, by the way. Five Sauce are always really good at bridges, but this one's one of their best, I think, of all time. It's, we go round again, we jump back in bed. That's what you do when you love somebody. These bad omens, I look right through them. That's what you do when you love somebody. God. Isn't that just beautiful and depressing and sad and wonderful and makes me want to cry? This idea of ignoring all of the bad omens because you love this person. Like, that's what you do when you love somebody. Aren't we always told to chase love and chase romance to the ends of the earth, that it's the most important thing in the world? And even when there are all of these, like, red flags and these bad things, when you love somebody, you tend to ignore them. Like, when people say, like, how did you stay in that relationship for so long when they treated you so badly? You know, a big response people always say is, well, you didn't know them like I did. You didn't love them the way I did. And the way that the song is able to so intently just eviscerate me personally and portray those feelings in just such a potent and accurate way just really gets me. And then the big chord, you know, all of the vocals together saying when you love somebody, it just breaks me. I'm a broken man when I listen to this song, and I say, give me more. I want more of it, baby. I love it so much. And speaking of songs I love, this was my second favorite song off the album. We start off really strong, and we just continue to just hit on all cylinders. We have Me, Myself, and I. Now this one, it really gets to me. It is fascinating. It's a fascinating piece of music, that's for sure. It has this very like poppy, classic sort of like Swedish almost even mentality to its perfection in the way that it's constructed as a song, and it is quite short. It plays to that like has to be under 3 minutes trendy thing these days, but it works really well. It says what it needs to say and then it gets out. It doesn't linger. It doesn't drag on. You know. It's pop perfection in my opinion. And the lyrics, man, this is the most, to me, and maybe I've just like hit the crack pipe too much, but to me this is the one that is like the most unique and interesting in terms of like what it's doing, I guess. So it starts with, I guess I got what I wanted. I never knew what I needed. Leave it up to me to fuck it up without a good reason. I know that it was my own fault. I never picked up that phone call. Oh Lord, all these broke hearts, but mine's the one bleeding. So to me, this describes like being selfish and wallowing in the romantic relationship, if that makes sense. Ending specifically, like I guess I got what I wanted, as in like the relationship is over. I wanted this relationship to end and it's over, but I never knew what I needed. Like there's a huge difference between want and need, and that juxtaposition. Again, like the specific use. I guess I got what I wanted, never knew what I needed. Like that is very, very intentional to me, and it really, really speaks to the idea of like, you know, you wanted this relationship to end, but maybe what you need is a long-lasting, consistent relationship in your life. And it seems like from these lines that that's not what's happening. I mean, the line that like really broke me while I was staring at the ceiling, like sobbing at 3 a.m. just a few days ago while preparing and writing notes for this video, that got me was, all these broke hearts, but mine's the one bleeding. I'm like, what an asshole. what an asshole-ish, selfish thing to say. Like, oh, I've ruined so many people's lives with my bad relationship skills, and I've broken so many hearts, but my heart is the one that's hurt the most by all of these bad relationships ending terribly. Like, oh, I'm the one who's the real victim here. Like, bitch, shut the fuck up. I love it so much. This is so messy and fucked up. And then immediately to get into the pre-chorus, bullshit I feed myself, me and my selfish appetite. I did not need your help. Now it's just me, myself, and I. It's like you saying that really selfish sort of like egocentric mentality, and then saying like, no, it's bullshit I feed myself and my selfish appetite. Like, it's acknowledging it's self-aware. The song is self-aware, and that's what scares me the most about it. That is the chorus, by the way. I think I said pre-chorus. No, it's the chorus. And what really gets me, so it's, now it's just me, myself, and I, repeats it, right, because it's, you know, the chorus. But then the background vocals, where it goes, la, 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 lie, la, la, lie, la, lie, lie. Like, it says the word lie. Like, now it's just me, myself, and I, and it's saying, like, lies. Like, this is lies. Because, sorry, I'm having a freak out talking about these lyrics, because it directly speaks to and implies that, like, you know, I don't need to be by myself. I need to have a real relationship that makes sense and lasts and is potent. So I'm lying to myself by saying it's just me, myself, and I. Specifically, I did not need your help. Now it's just me, myself, and I. Like, maybe I do need the help of a romantic partner to, you know, understand how I need to behave as a person. And it's insane. This is insane, you know, like, work being done here in the lyrics. This is poetry. It also does one of my favorite 5-sauce-isms, which is a classic, like, pop music move, where the first chorus is kind of reserved and very held back, and then it builds over time, and each chorus gets bigger and larger and more bombastic. And it works really well to keep your attention, because you know that it's going to repeat again, because it's a pop song, so of course you're going to hear the chorus again after a certain point. But it's going to sound different. You know it's going to sound different. So it really hooks you more. They do that with pretty much all of their songs, a lot of their songs. They do this quite often. And I think it's a really smart and clever move to do. It also does the classic Mr. Brightside move, where it just repeats the rest of the lyrics again. Like, it's just the first verse, and then the chorus. It's just the first verse and the chorus. And then it just does it again. And then it turns the verse into the bridge, which, again, another really great bridge. Spectacular bridge here. And it just really reemphasizes, like, you know, what was being said. There's already so much shit packed into these lyrics that we don't need anymore. It just kind of, you know, emphasizes it more further, which I really appreciate. So then we have Take My Hand. Now, this is another one that's a little bit more moody and introspective, and similar to Easy for You to Say in a way, but this one speaks a little bit more, I think, on fame, or being an artist, and that struggle of being, like, an artist, and that kind of push and pull, I guess. And I think the audience is different. While I had said that Easy for You to Say maybe speaking to the fans, or to a partner, or to, like, a therapist, I think this song is speaking to the narrator's past self, like, talking to the younger version of yourself. Which is really sad. So, let's get into it. A painted heart on a sidewalk, a bleeding sign on a silver screen. I feel my ego when I talk, lost myself in the in-between. It's so good. There's a lot here. So I take those first two lines, a painted heart on a sidewalk, a bleeding sign on a silver screen, to represent like the two different versions of art that maybe the band have created, see themselves as creating. A painted heart on a sidewalk to me is like it's like a metaphor for when you're just creating art just for the fun of it, and it's very like rough and DIY and just like and just for the public to see, because you think of like like on painting a heart on a sidewalk, something that people just walk past and don't acknowledge, but it's open and it's free for everyone to see. It's like anyone can appreciate that art. It could be a metaphor for like those early youthful stages of art where you're not making it for like a machine or to sell money or to get records, to get on the radio, all that stuff, versus a bleeding sign on a silver screen. To me, speaks to like this big production. The silver screen is like the movie theater, so it's like this big huge production with all these things behind it, and then like a bleeding sign, as in like it's running, it's damaged, it's not fully there, or it's like very provocative in a sense, like you've really like had to like pour your entire heart into it. And I don't know, just like the juxtaposition between painted heart and bleeding sign, like bleeding and heart, they kind of are tied together, and they're at the same point in the line, the same syllable in the line. I think it really conjures that image really, really well and really masterfully. But then I feel my ego when I talk, lost myself in the in-between. It's another example of like describing something and then pulling it back and being like, that's really like being too self-aware to be able to actually just talk about these things. This is every song so far has had a situation like that, a moment like that. The ones about like reflection on past life. Like I feel my ego when I talk about the fact that like which one's better, just making art for the fun of it or making art to sell millions of records. It's like it feels egotistical to like say that I did either or to like pick one. It's very interesting in the way that it comments on itself. And then lost myself in the in-between speaks to like I lost who I was as an artist in between like the two different styles of art of just painting on a sidewalk just for the fun of it, for the joy and the beauty of it for public use, and making this big style production that needs to sell money and needs to like mean something and be just super high art and all this stuff. So reflection on that is present. And then the second part, lustful lies filled with love now, sending in every cavalry, a few more souls on the bus now, shut my eyes right at 17. So sad. It's so fucked up and sad, man. This is insane. So to me, first of all, the alliteration there with lustful lies filled with love now. Alliteration and repetition really puts emphasis on the words, and it also inherently links them. So there's just something so like visceral about lustful lies filled with love now. Like it almost implies that all of them are the same. Like lust, lies, and love. They're all one and the same in the eyes of this like context. So this to me speaks to like wanting fame and desiring to be loved and getting attention. And then the idea of sending in every cavalry, like this is like the industry like running to scoop them up, to get them signed to the record label, to get them like they're sending in all the cavalry to like get them into the fame machine, right? And then that line, few more souls on the bus now, to me really is prescient and speaks to something that they had mentioned in their 5 Sauce Talk 10 years thing, where apparently they had like a coach or some kind who had told them, gave them the metaphor of like they are a bus or they're driving a bus, and that they need to be in control of the bus at all times because like at the end of the day they're the ones who run the show, right? So to me that's like a little outside thing that like I think can apply to that. Like it's not just me anymore, it's like us, it's the band, all the people who rely on us now, our managers, our agents, our people who like make money, and it's their jobs to like make sure we're successful, and if we're not successful, we don't do what we do, then they're in jeopardy. So it's like the pressure of having more souls on the bus, of the cavalry sending in to sell you on these lustful lies full of love, which can be understood as fame, right? And then shut my eyes right at 17. It's this idea of just like shutting down, of just basically like turning your brain off to just like run through the machine. And then what leads into the verse, the chorus is, it always hits me, I'm always shifting. Talk about depression. So then the chorus is, take my hand now and forever, where I stand, how can you live and let die, young man, look in the mirror, take my hand and don't you ever let go. Don't you ever let go, take my hand now and forever, like the background vocals. The chorus is what makes me think that it's maybe talking to the like the narrator's past self, because it's like, take my hand, look in the mirror, and just like stay with me, like basically like nurturing your past self and breaking the bad news to them while also trying to comfort them in a way. That's the energy I pick up from the chorus. So then we get the next verse. Told myself maybe someday I'd fall down from the centerpiece. I treat my mind like an ashtray. I owe you an apology. Dude, what the fuck is this? Like, are you trying to kill me? Ugh. So, this idea, I told myself maybe someday I'd fall down from the centerpiece. Like, eventually this fame is going to end. Eventually this whole, industry thing is going to be done one day. And I treat my mind like an ashtray. I owe you an apology. It's like, again, if we're going under this context of the narrator's talking to a past version of them, it's like, I'm sorry for how horrible I let my thoughts be for you. Like, feeling bad for the way that you treated yourself, basically, in your past life. God, it's so sad. It's delicious, though. And then, next part, breaking plans on a Sunday, with myself, maybe make some peace. I forget every birthday. Open eyes right at 23. So it's like basically describing, like, I figured eventually I would figure my whole life out and that I would get my act together. And I only started to really pay attention and understand everything once I turned 23. So I shut my eyes at 17, opened them at 23. God. The fact that it's able to evoke such visceral emotions from me to where I have a hard time talking about it without just, like, cussing myself out, it says a lot about how good the lyrics are. So there you go. And then we get the bridge, which is, pick apart all of the pieces while I'm running out of time. Iron out all of the creases and just hang it out to dry. Shallow hearts for shallow minds that ache to be alive. You fall apart and redefine what keeps you up at night. So this, to me, speaks to, like, this idea of reevaluating yourself. Like, actually starting to reflect and understand the real context of what your actions were and who you were as a person. I think for a lot of people who are stuck in the enthralls of addiction, this can happen, where you kind of are separate from yourself and you're kind of almost like a spectator of your own life. You're not really in control of what you're doing. And it's not just drug addiction and drug abuse as well. It's obviously many other things. Being a child star as well is another aspect of this. But it's like basically describing, like, reconnecting with your body and then being like, what did I just do? And, like, realizing everything that you did and actually, like, understanding what it means and it breaking you on the inside. Like, I think a lot of people who, had drug addictions or just in general, like, did a lot of bad things, once they reflect and start to realize what it actually means, it really just starts to, like, shatter themselves from the inside out. So that line of, you fall apart and then redefine what keeps you up at night, it really speaks to me. It hits a little too close to home, that's for sure. So yeah, beautifully devastating song. And it was the second single from the album. Five Sauce are insane. They're insane. I don't know how they do it. I don't know how or why they do this to me, but they do it every time. So next we're going to talk about Carousel. This is one of my favorites on the album. I mean, every song is my favorite on the album. But, like, this one really hits me in a way that I think it's just so well constructed, and it's just so beautiful. Carousel. To me, this song is, again, it's another retrospective, thinking about your life and everything. And it just breaks me. So the lyrics are, it starts as, I built it from the ground up just to watch me burn it down. I gotta keep the party going, ain't no fading out. One thing that I think is really great about the song when it comes to the actual singing, I've been talking about the lyrics like they're just like poems and stuff. I don't know if this is if I've made this clear already in previous videos. I have, but I haven't said it in this video yet. I'm currently an English major. I'm in my undergraduate now. I'm about to be a senior. Poetry actually isn't my strong suit. My main form of study is like strain of study is literature. So I'm actually, I tell myself I quite suck at poetry, honestly, but I'm trying to be a little bit nicer to myself. And this is my version of like trying to be nicer to myself about analyzing poetry by saying like, well, here's a simpler, slightly more simpler version because it's music, you know. And I just think that there's so much good stuff in here that I have to call it out. So I've been focusing more on the lyrics instead of like the actual sounds of them, of the songs. But with this song, I think something that's really important to note is the version of like uptalk basically that's present on these verses, and they just flow so perfectly with the lyrics. They like coincide with the lyrics, and that's, you know, the beauty of music, right? This is kind of something that Taylor Swift does in a lot of her songs, and by putting the emphasis on the final like syllable and going up with it, so I built it from the ground up, just to watch me burn it down, like having the uptalk at the end of each syllable. It emphasizes and it keeps your ear listening because it sounds like a question. So you're like constantly listening to hear what's going to happen next. But then when it says burn it down, it goes down. So I built it from the ground up just to watch me burn it down. And see, we're saying the word down when we go down in the inflection. It's genius. It's beautiful. And then the rest is, I got to keep the party going. Ain't no fading out. So fading out, it's going down. So the voice leading is like speaking to the lyrics and emphasizing them further. It's great. It's wonderful, and I love it. So what this is saying here is like building up your career, like doing all, or even just like your life, like you know, try, and then watching you just like burn it to the ground, watching you just like throw it all away with your bad decisions or whatever, right? And I got to keep the party going. Ain't no fading out. I can't have my crash out publicly. I have to like have a good face because I got to keep the party going. It just, whew, it's beautiful. And then the rest of it is, my life's just a carousel spinning around. I'd pay again just to keep from stopping it now. This metaphor of a carousel is really, really, really potent to me. The idea of like you're stuck on a stationary thing that's moving and you can't move it, and you're constantly being like spinning around and re-seeing the same things over and over again. It's like basically a way of like the past haunting you, which it's very, very a fascinating way to look at it for sure. And then I'd pay again just to keep from stopping it. Like, I don't want it to stop. I need to keep going. So I'll like do anything I can just to keep, you know, keep this merry-go-round, this carousel going. And then I tried to keep my head above the ocean of my doubt. I'm feeling like a dreamer. Don't you try and wake me now. And this is kind of like basically like the constant spin around. It's almost like you're distracting yourself from actually being aware and paying attention to your surroundings. So it's like you're just barely keeping your head above the ocean of doubt. So like of questioning and maybe like, you know, stopping the constant spinning around. They were so busy and so overworked in their early career especially that it's like you can definitely see it as like just like not wanting that constant rush to stop, because then you'll have to actually think about things and you'll drown in your own doubt, right? And that's so sad. And then the chorus kind of switches metaphors a bit to like a car, and it says, looking for myself in the passenger side, driving to the edge till I get this right, trying to find the city with the brightest lights. How are you going to get there? Get there. So it's describing like basically like you're in the I see it as you're in the passenger seat, but you're not driving the car, and you're feeling like out of control basically in how your life is going, and you're just looking for like the biggest, brightest city, but the good stuff, the happiness, but you don't know how you're going to get there, and you're driving very recklessly, and you don't even feel like you're the one doing the driving to get there. So that was my Discord notification, by the way. Sorry, I turned it off. Don't worry, it was me. It wasn't your Discord. Sorry for anyone I spooked with that. But then we get into the second part of the chorus. Always looking back, and I don't know why. Something always there in the back of my mind. Everybody's living on a one-way ride. How are we going to get there? Get there. So it's the idea of always looking back. Again, with the carousel, you're spinning around. You're seeing the past of yourself. You're seeing the present as well. And it's always there. Like it's never going away. It's always in the back of your mind. Even when you're happy, even when you're doing other things, this like constant regret and doubt of your past behavior, or just like looking back, is just always there. It's a horrible life to live, I can tell you that. And then we get the second verse, which emphasizes this sort of like circus, sort of like showbiz, like circus tent kind of energy, which is it has been used for decades, for centuries even now, as a metaphor for like the industry, the fame industry, because of how obvious and prescient the exploitation was, and yet how okay everyone was with it for the value of entertainment, right? So the second verse is, I feel like I'm a tiger in the circus ring again. Every time I jump, it's getting higher, never ends. Ain't that just what the industry is like, especially if you're, in pop music? It's like every time you think you do something really successful, the bar just gets higher, and you just are expected to jump even higher the next time. And that's just crazy, man. And that you're just like another, animal in the exploitation ring of for other people's entertainment, Watch these animals basically try not, suffer and almost get killed, and everyone just clapping and cheering and throwing stuff. It's like, yeah, y'all get it, I bet. And so this song, I think, is just it's just a pure example of how the constant rush and intense spinning of the music industry, and how it, can drive someone mad, basically. But see, what's beautiful about this is that if that's there, if you want to interpret it that way, but it doesn't have to be about the music industry. A kind of trope of a lot of songs and music that I don't like is songs that are about like the inside industry details and contracts and stuff from artists, because to me it sometimes can speak as like you have nothing else to talk about in your music, so you just have to talk about your haters or your industry, squabbles and stuff. And it's something that is deeply uninteresting to me, not only because I can't relate to it, which is a big factor, but like relatability isn't like the be-all end-all of music, of course, or like liking a piece of art. But it also is just bland and uninteresting to me. So this is an example of how to do it right. Speaking on the music industry, in my opinion, how I've interpreted this song. Speaking about the struggles and the difficulty of the industry, while not having it just be so plain and obvious, it still is universal. Because this can describe anything, like a dead-end job you have or a bad relationship you're in. It doesn't have to be about the industry directly. That is just the way that I interpret it. So it's metaphors and poetry makes it more universal and makes it easier to appreciate as just an everyday person. So it's masterful. It really, really is. So next we're going to talk about Older. I'm not going to really do a huge, deep lyrical breakdown of this song because it is a love song, and obviously I care more about like the depressing, sad shit. But this song still has some pretty fun and interesting lyrical parts, and it's also the first ever Five Sauce song to have a feature on it. Five Sauce have featured on songs before, only two. I mentioned them, One OK Rock and the Chainsmokers. But this is the first song to have a feature, and it features Luke's eventual wife. She's credited as Sierra Deaton on this song because they weren't married yet. They were engaged, I'm pretty sure, at this point in time. But they've now since gotten married, so she's Sierra Hemmings now. And she doesn't feature too much on it. She mainly just provides background vocals. And I'm pretty sure the story of the song was that Sierra, Luke, and Michael just wrote it together just like one day, and originally there was no plans of putting it on the album, but the rest of the band like really agreed that like, oh, it needs to be on the album, it fits really well. And it does. I do like it. This is the only song, and the fandom kind of talk about how this song shouldn't have been on the album. It should have been a Luke solo song, which, whatever. I think it works fine on the album. I think it works pretty well. It does kind of, the momentum does slow a little bit because Carousel has this very like quick rollicking, tempo, while still having that Britpop sound, of course. It's not too intense, but it has that kind of like rollicking speed through, which, kind of gives it that energy of like the kinetic energy of like the Carousel, right? But Older is a little bit slower. It's like mostly a piano ballad with like this, It's one of the ballads on the album, and I could see Carousel flowing into Haze pretty well, but I do like Older, so I think it's a good song. And yeah, it's basically about being so in love with somebody that you don't want one of you to die, because then you'll have to imagine a life without them. So there's always that twinge of edginess present even in their love songs. But there's something very interesting in some of these lyrics that like make me side-eye a little bit in a good way. In like a makes me think, makes me ponder. Specifically the first verse. Stare at the photograph, suddenly takes me back. The promises roll off your breath in your cocaine-colored wedding dress. Luke said this was his favorite line in the whole album, I'm pretty sure. And that's interesting to me. Very, very interesting to me. To specifically describe a wedding dress as cocaine-colored, which I don't think I can say that word anymore. I've said it twice now. That's probably my limit for the YouTube video. But to describe it as that specifically speaks to the memories coming back, because it says stare at the photograph, suddenly takes me back. Like, you're remembering where you were in that point in time and how things were, you know, in your relationship. And to describe that specifically, to me, I think says a lot about the relationship in the context of the song. I again said it already, not trying to imply anything about real life. It just really gets me. It's kind of cool. It's cool. It's interesting. It's unique. You know, they're trying to do something there, and I can appreciate that. One of the other lyrics I want to point out is the next part of the verse. Lost in the day-to-day, you kiss away the pain. Oh, every time you twist my lips, my dear, devoted, delicate. We get that example of repetition again and alliteration, which I'll always love. There's just something, because it's so obvious, but yet when you pay attention to it, it really opens itself up more. So I think that's why I appreciate it so much. So yeah, there's Older. Really good song. One of the singles. A classic. Good time all around. Except it's not really a good time because it's depressing. But, you know, when is a 5 Sauce song on this album? Not depressing. This next one, kind of. There's still a twinge there because, you know, we got a theme going, you know. We have the song Haze. Another one of my favorite deep cuts. Just such a good time, vibey song. And we get a lot of Ashton vocals, which I love. A lot of Callum vocals, which we've gotten, you know, throughout the rest of the album. But, yeah, great vocal dynamics here. So, to me, this song describes being in a new relationship and the rush, basically, of, like, a new relationship and a new, like, lifestyle that comes with that. Because it also specifically describes, like, moving to a new town and moving and, like, basically, like, starting your life over. And the sort of, like, spark that you get from that. So, I'll read the second verse to kind of, like, emphasize this. It's, when I moved to California, when I lived between the bars, when I didn't even know ya, when I was giving up. Ventura was a ghost town. This city broke my heart. And then, in a very cunty way, Luke comes in and he goes, I watch the weeks fly by. I'm not myself when you're not there. No matter how long I still care. And when you pick me up, no, I don't have to play pretend. And I'm human once again. And then the chorus is, got me feeling alright when the feeling's long gone. Got me feeling uptight every moment you're gone. Got a piece of your mind and I'm gonna hold on. It's a hell of a ride. So yeah, like that describes like the rush of the relationship. It's a hell of a ride. And specifically, like this idea of moving to a new town, you know, living between the bars, constantly going to the bars, being alone, kind of, you know, to me that describes being alone. Going to the bars, like you're not going with someone, you're just going to the bars, like, got nothing else better to do but to drink with a bunch of strangers. Not to offend anyone who likes bar culture, you know, that's your own thing. It's just not for me. So I see it as an inherently lonely thing, but that's just because of the context of my life. It probably isn't for a lot of other people. But anyways, in this way it's kind of saying that because it says when I was giving up. So it's like, I didn't know you yet and I was kind of giving up on my life. The city broke my heart, you know. But then meeting this person and connecting with them. And I'm human once again. I don't have to play pretend when you help me. You've picked me up from my depressive state. So that's pretty. It's nice. It's really sweet. And then the chorus, it has a little bit of that twinge of like, oh, like I feel bad when I'm not with you. Like it got me feeling uptight every moment you're gone. But also like got me feeling all right when the feeling's long gone. Like, I'm still all giddy and happy thinking about you, even when we're not together. But then when that separation goes a little bit too long, I start to get, like, nervous. It definitely describes that, like, intense rush you get when you've had a new love, and how maybe it's not the best thing at the end of the day. It's a bit much, but still, you're still living in that rush, that haze, you can even say. One of the first times, I think, where the title doesn't actually get said in this song, which is cool, I guess. And so, yeah, this is just a really great song. Really classic song here. And it's a good love song. So next we have You Don't Go to Parties. This one is a little bit more conceptual, but, like, obvious in its conceptualization, if that makes sense. I'll just read the lyrics. It's 5 a.m. and clinging to my couch, and everyone I ever knew is standing in my house. Oh, I wonder who I'm looking for, because you don't go to parties anymore. This is the chorus. And just to be relatable, I'm going to say it reminds me the most of, like, that one episode of How I Met Your Mother, one of, like, the first ever episodes, where Ted Mosby keeps throwing a house party, hoping that Robin will come by, because he wants to have an excuse to hang out with her, but he doesn't want to, like, ask her out on a date. So he invites her to a party, and he has the party, and she doesn't show up because of last-minute situations. So he just, like, keeps, like, having the party in hopes that she'll show up. And, yeah, it's a situation for sure. But, it kind of reminds me of that a little bit, of, like, it's 5 a.m. clinging to my couch. Like, the party's still going on, but it's 5 in the morning, and you're just, like, there on the couch. And you're, like, you're wondering, you're basically had this party to invite this person over so you can see them, and that person's moved on. They're in a different stage of their life now. They don't go to parties anymore. Yet, you're still throwing the parties, you know? It's a good example of, like, clearly has not over it and has not moved on all over the narrator's, you know, like, face and vibe from this song. And then the verse goes, I still think about the times we were heavy, racehorse tripping on the dirt that you got on me, vultures spinning up above for what's left of me. We go stupid every night. What a tragedy. So this describes, like, the ending of the relationship, or, like, the heaviness, right? About the times we were heavy, about the bad parts of the relationship. And, like, the bad parts of the relationship. But then it goes, I'm still here in the darkness, back where we started. You made me a heartless monster. I'm caught up in distractions, fatal attractions. I'm starting to come undone. First of all, Ashton sounds great on that part. It's so good. But, yeah, this idea of, like, I remember the dark, heavy parts of a relationship, and I'm still there. That's the place I'm still at. And you put me there. You're the one who did this to me. It's a little bit bitter. It's a little bit adolescent, but it's emotionally true, I think. We've all been there before. And even if not, you've seen someone been there before in a movie or something, like a TV show, so you can understand. You can understand it. Then we get the chorus again, and the second part of the chorus is, I got the last 5 years running out my mouth. I always stay too late. I should kick me out. Oh, I wonder who I'm looking for, because you don't go to parties anymore. Ugh, that annoying guy who's not over his ex ranting about it at the party. And it's like, can someone kick this guy out? Oh, wait, it's his house. It's his party. We can't kick him out. It's just, yep. Dude's not over it. Dude is not over it. And then we got the second verse. Lost my limit because I'm dumb and I'm passionate. Took my foot up off the brakes. It's not an accident. All my friends are up on Mars. We've been traveling. Another lonely night. This is great to me because it specifically describes, like, that like running around with your degenerate friends partying to try and escape, but you still feel very lonely even though you're surrounded by all these people. Like, lost my limit because I'm dumb and I'm passionate. This idea of, like, not knowing, you used to have your limits when it came to drinking or doing drugs or whatever, and you've lost them now. You're just going full throttle. Like, literally pulled my foot up off the brakes. It's not an accident. Like, I'm just going and I don't care. And then this, all my friends are up on Mars. We've been traveling. To me, that describes, like, getting high, right? Like, going up to Mars, you know, getting high, right? And it's another lonely night. We're going crazy. We're partying. It's supposed to be so fun, but it's just another lonely night. Yep. This is what I mean when I say that, like, we're unpacking the enthralls of drug addiction that people can get into, and how it's not actually these good fun times that it's advertised to you as, or that you think you're doing. It is actually a very lonely and isolating experience that you get stuck in, because you're trying to escape from yourself or from your sadness or your feelings, right? Like, you're not over this relationship, so you're throwing the parties trying to just cope, basically, and it's not working. And it never will work. You gotta go to therapy, buddy. Go to rehab. I know it's hard, but you'll get there. So, the next song is Blender. One of my favorite songs. Can I just say, the production on this thing is immaculate. Michael is a really great producer. I really like his ear for the space of a song, if that makes sense. These songs, like, decently open up in a way that is very cool. This song is one of the only songs not produced by Michael. So, I gave his flowers a little bit too soon. All the other songs have been produced by Michael. This one, I think one other one are not produced by him. This song was produced by Peter Thomas. It's still really good though. I said what I said. Still, the space of the song is very open and inviting, while also being like very twinged in darkness. It reminds me a lot of like what The Weeknd was doing at this time with After Hours. One of my favorite albums of the decade so far. What an immaculate record. Just so good. So this one is, again, about not being over a relationship and reminiscing on or being, like, in the enthralls of, like, getting back together and the messiness of that. You know how these previous songs were talking about, like, oh, they keep breaking up and getting back together. It's very hot and cold, on and off, and it needs to just end. Like, the previous songs were like, it needs to end, or it has ended, and I'm sad about that. This one is, like, we're getting a snapshot of, like, the middle of that, like, rush back together. Is it lonely where you are? All the way across the room. With the knife inside your heart, I feel it too. Is it just the way we are, always burning through the roof? Oh, I guess only the stars would know the truth. I'd die for you. I tried for you. So yeah, this is you're at the party, you've broken up, but you see each other, and it's like, are you thinking about me? Are you feeling lonely? Is this just like what we do? Are we just always fated to like break up and get back together, break up, get back together? And I guess only the stars would know. I guess only heaven and hell themselves would know if this is just like what we're destined to do to the end of time. And then that, like, I die for you, the repetition of I died for you, and I tried for you, it's like, it's so insane. And then the chorus goes, but all I hear is all the things you said in my head, ricocheting off the bed, nothing left but a mess. Oh my god, it never ends. Now we're stressed and depressed, and we're going around again in an emotional blender. The words just like fastly speed and roll out of the narrator's mouth. You know, it's just like this quick, this rollicking thing, and it describes like that rush and that quick, you know, kinetic, you know, energy of just like the getting back together and remembering all of the bad relationships and the spinning around in the emotional blender, right? Like what a mess, it never ends. We're just constantly spinning around in this situation. And then the rest of the chorus, all the things you said in my head, ricocheting off the bed, nothing left, what a mess, oh my god, it never ends. Now we're stressed and depressed, and we're going around again in an emotional blender. That line of it ricocheting off the bed, you know, like, we get back into bed, and then it just all spins around again. It's just, it describes such a visceral, visual, like, physical element of the song. Then the rest of the song goes, but we just can't keep away when you know me like you do. It's supernatural. Got me howling at the moon. Oh, crazy stuff here. We just can't keep away. Like, there's just something so romantic about that idea of, like, we just can't stay away from each other, but it's like, it's really bad and toxic, so maybe you should stay away from each other. And then describing it as your connection, you know, this idea of you guys keep coming back together, describing it as supernatural. Like, you don't have control over it. Like how a wolf changes at the full moon. It's like you don't have control over how you just morph and change into this wolf and howl at the moon. It's just... It's something. It's something. It has me cheesing, that's for sure. And then, you know, we just repeat the chorus over and over again. And it's just such an interesting way to, like, describe a relationship. And just this, like... Again, it's the snapshot of the getting back together and the emotional, like, rush, but also, like, the twinge of knowing the truth of how this is going to end. Because the other songs describing this part of the relationship is after this is officially over and the actual split up has happened. But getting an image of, like, the thrill and the rush of it, it kind of makes you understand it almost in a way that's like, damn. It's actually kind of Miltian, John Miltian in a way. in how Satan is portrayed, where you kind of start to understand why he did the things he did, even though it's like you're not supposed to sympathize with him because he is the villain of the story and he is, you know, Satan. But it just connects to that human element present within you, and it just makes you think. It's cheers to them for that. Also, the saxophone solo, bitch, get out of here with that bullshit. It's so goddamn good. It sounds amazing. The saxophone solo, delicious. It is absolutely delicious. I didn't think it was a real saxophone at first. I was like, oh, it's got a synth program, but no, they got someone to play the saxophone on the song, and I really appreciate that. It's really good. Really, really good. And so then next we have Caramel. The song Blender perfectly translates and morphs into Caramel. They transition beautifully into each other. Now, I think this is one of my favorite songs on the album. Not because I relate to it. I want to make that very clear. I do not really relate to this song at all. However, and plus, it's just so well constructed in its fucked up nature. It is just so well formed in how messy and shitty it is. It makes me feel crazy. So this is the cheating song on the album. The whole reason why I did that whole little beginning rant about cheating, because I felt as though me liking this song a lot, I needed to clarify. And also the fact that I'm not, like, condemning it as bad or anything in this analysis. So let's just get into it. So it starts, run to the east, gotta leave, I need a way out. Looking at me coloring out of the lines now. You only break when you take the bend too far. I don't like it fake, I relate, I think it's true love. So that specific line of looking at me coloring out of the lines now, what a wild... what a beautiful metaphor. It's such an interesting way to describe it. As, like, you know, when you coloring inside the lines, it's like such an easy and simple task to do when you're a fully fleshed out grown-up. Because we're not talking about like a child. Like, oh, you know, I don't have full control over myself yet, so I color outside the lines. We're like talking about a grown-up here. Coloring outside the lines, it's like you have one job, and that is to color inside the lines, and you can't even do that. It's such a potent way to describe, like, infidelity or, like, not being faithful to your partner. Like, you had one job, just be faithful to your partner, and you can't even do that. That's the way that I interpret it as, and I think that is so cool, such a cool way to interpret it and to analyze it, to see it as. And this idea of, like, run to the east, gotta leave, I need a way out. It's this idea of, like, leaving the relationship, you know, like I can't stand this relationship right now, I just gotta get out of here. And then it's like looking at me, you know, cheating, basically. And then you only break when you take the bend too far. So it's like this idea of the partner, the speculative partner in the relationship, only being upset when the other person bends the relationship too much by doing this infidelity, right? Because it's like the idea is, like, you know, you guys do so many bad things to each other, and we just keep it. But we only... The snap of the relationship only happens when you bend it just far enough, too far to where it actually does snap. Because you can bend this relationship, you can make it as messy as you can, but when you do that one thing that just, all the momentum just cracks it, that's when it happens. And so, again, describing, like, that's, the infidelity is what causes the snap, the break, right? But then saying, I don't like it fake, I relate, I think it's true love. It's like, our relationship... we had this understanding. We agreed that, like, this is, you know, we're not going to be fake with each other. We're going to be honest and truthful. So it's like, I think we're meant to be, you know, it's interesting how we get the different snapshots of the relationship. And then we get, it's been a while since you and I have been where we started. I don't want to let it fade away. So this is like saying, like, this relationship has gone on for long enough. I don't want it to end. It's like sunk cost fallacy. Like, we've been in this for so long. We shouldn't end it just because, you know, I did something really bad. At least that's how I interpret it. And then the chorus is, it used to be easy. Now you can't even look me in the eye. A visceral feeling that I can never leave behind. Again, it describes, like you took it to, when you take the relationship problems too far. Like, we used to have this simple, easy relationship, but then I went and cheated, and now you can't even look me in the eyes. And there's that visceral feeling that I have that I can never leave behind. Like, that guilt and that shame and that pain in the relationship is never going to go away. Whoo, damn, is that fucked up? And it's all your fault. So what are you gonna do with it, right? That's what's so good about this song. And then the part this is my favorite part, and probably the whole song. And it's the way that it's the voice leading again, the way that it's sung out. It's perfect. And it's under my skin, but I can't reach in when you know where I've been, so we play pretend. This is what really is obvious, it's about cheating, right? All those other things maybe you could have said are about something else, like fighting or, whatever, right? But this is where I think it inherently implies cheating, where when you know where I've been, so we play pretend. And if you notice where the emphasis is put, if you hear the song, what the end of each syllable, where the emphasis is put on, is what is the most important parts of the song, of the lyrics to emphasize. And it's under my skin, but I can't reach in. So it's like my skin, it's under my skin, and I can't reach in. It's like always a part of me, and I can't get it out. And then when you know where I've been, so we play pretend. So it's like, this is what we're putting emphasis on, is the cheating, the bad feeling, the never gonna remove it from myself, we pretend it's not gonna happen, or we just try to move on from it like it didn't happen, but we can't. Like, that is what the emphasis on is. We try to pretend like it's okay, but it's not. Like, I'm going to read it in a different way, where we put different emphasis and see how the lyrics just immediately change into something completely different, and it implies something different. I'm going to put emphasis on the other parts of the vowels. But it's under my skin, and I can't reach in. When you know where I've been, so we play pretend. Like, that immediately makes it more, like, selfish and inherent, like it's under my skin. Like, I'm the one who's the most affected by this, and I can't reach in. Like, I'm the one who is struggling the most with this. And then you are, like, overemphasizing where I've been, and we decide to play pretend because of it. You see how what you put emphasis on the specific parts of the lyrics matter? That's the biggest thing about poetry, is that it's performed at the end of the day, meant to be performed more than it is just read out, right? There's only so much I can do because I'm, here in my bedroom, and I can't just play the song for you without getting crazy copyright strikes, I'm assuming. But it's like, it needs to be read out. The syllables need to be emphasized where the artist intended them to be, and that is what, like, flavors and imbues the lyrics with the importance that they have. And it's so good. It is so good. And then just the repetition of it used to be easy. Like, it's crazy. And then the second verse, which really, the way the metaphor spins further just kills me inside. It goes, I know it well, caramel, I feel the come down. We've been to hell, I can tell, we're slowing down now. So to me, caramel means alcohol. And it emphasizes it further, it kind of clarifies it further with the next part of the verse. But it basically is making an analogy towards alcohol, and like what alcohol does to you, and what this relationship is doing to the narrator, right? Where it's like, I know this feeling of like being drunk and then the come down, like I know it well, like when I'm experiencing it in this relationship, because you have the high, the rush of being drunk, like the crazy, it's not necessarily a high because it's a downer, but like that shifting of your feeling, you no longer feel like yourself, you're separated, you're drunk, you're on it, you're off it, I guess you could say. And then you have that come down, you have the hangover, the drop, the intense fall. And that's like basically how this relationship is going on. And then the rest of the song is, you bring up the past, didn't ask, give me the know-how. I'm sorry, said in the background. And then, so we make it last another glass until we come round. Whew, man. So, again, talking about the relationship, right? Like, you bring up the past and ask, give me the know-how. And we just, instead of hitting that hangover, the best way to deal with a hangover is to just get drunk again. So they just, another glass until we come round, right? That implies drinking alcohol specifically, right? And then we get the repetition, the rest of the verse, and then we get why did I forget the word of the bridge? Another phenomenal bridge, delicious bridge. Love like a landslide. I Kiss You Goodnight. And it's repeated again. Describing the love like a landslide, like it just like rushes down like a boulder of rocks, is definitely some imagery. But then the softness of I Kiss You Goodnight, it describes that extreme contrast. Hey guys, so my camera died, and we're just gonna keep on going. It's been a few hours, and I'm really tired, so I like just started editing the video, and I'm on my backup camera now. Whatever, it probably looks better even, I bet. I don't know. So I put my hair up, and we're just gonna try and finish talking about the album now. Again, I'll just yap into infinity about this album because I love it so much. So let's get into talking about Best Friends, one of the other songs that will make me cry. Just because it's basically a song about how much they love each other and they're best friends with each other, which is absolutely adorable. Because it's one of the more happy ones, I'm an annoying asshole. I'm not going to go super in depth about it like I did the more sad ones. But it's just really cute. It's just a really cute song about how much they love each other. I specifically want to shout out the second verse, which is sung by Michael, and I think he said this was like his favorite lyrics on the album. When I had mentioned it about Luke and now for Michael, I think it was from the little Q&A that they did before the Royal Albert Hall one night only performance. I remember they got asked that question, and so these are the lyrics that the two of them said were their favorites. For Luke, the one from Older, and then Michael, this one, which is, life is like a poem written on a bathroom wall, a decorated list of all the things you felt before. It's not a perfect narrative, there's beauty in mistakes. It's time to love somebody who won't try and change your way. I remember waiting on the calm before the storm, back when we were on the other side of 24. Take me to the place where everybody knows our names. It's better late than never, baby. I don't want to wait. It's really just an adorable admission of like what you appreciate in your friends. Like this idea of a decorated poem written on a bathroom wall, decorated list of all the things you felt before. It's like this messy sort of composite sketch of just like all these different thoughts and opinions all just splayed out on each other. Like a good visual way to describe what life is like. And it's not a perfect narrative, there's beauty in mistakes, you know, talking about your friendship and just, God, it's so pretty. The chorus is, memories I hold to keep safe, and I live for that look on your face. I've got the best friends in this place, and I'm holding on. It's really just adorable, this idea of them all loving each other so much that it's like the one good, pure thing that they have in each other's lives. Because there's so much sadness, there's so much depression, there's so much harshness on this record, and it does feel good to just get a simple, beautiful song about how much they love each other. It's just really sweet and honest and kind, to be honest with you. It's just wonderful. So then we get to the final two tracks, which I think play really well to each other in the same way that like Blender and Caramel do. And it's a lot more depressing stuff. So with Bleach, the general conceit of this song is that, you know, bleach is sort of something that like it's a cleaning material, but also like it takes all the color out. Like it's a clean slate, essentially, is what it's being described as. So it's describing, like, the chorus goes, if there's bleach in the hallways, I can start over, bleaching my hair just to get away. I'm washing it out till I figured out living without you. Everything I was spinning down the drain. Really sad. This idea of, like, basically, like, I need to wipe clear and start my whole life over, you know, get rid of everything that I previously was so I can get rid of how I feel towards you, because this relationship is over and I can't be with you anymore. And in the verses, you really pick up on this idea that, again, the narrator doesn't want to do this, doesn't want to get over this person or this relationship, but is being, like, essentially forced to. So you hear lines like, it's so hard to watch everything I want, everything I was, spinning down the drain. So that's just really, really, really sad. The specific line from the verse, brought a knife to a gunfight, but the hurting is all mine when the feeling is airtight. I know it takes time to let go, but I can't take it no more. Can I make up for lost time? It's like this idea of, like, you want to be over it, but you're not over it. It's like, all this time I spent not being over this relationship, is there any way I can like make up for that time that I've lost? It's just, it really does describe that painful feeling of just like not being over somebody, you know? It's a little bit, hits really close to home, I think, for some people. So, also that line brought a knife to a gunfight in the sense of like because being unprepared for just how messed up you were going to be over trying to get over this relationship. Like you came unprepared, you know, it was a gunfight and you brought a knife. I think Taylor Swift has also used that metaphor before once. I feel like that's like something she's done. So yeah, Bleach is a really sad song, and this idea of like watching everything you were spinning down the drain as you bleach your hair, or you know, bleach the entire house, bleach in the hallways, you know, clean it all out. And it can even like, that idea of bleach in the hallways reminds me of like, it conjures up the visual of like moving out. Like maybe you were living with somebody and now they moved out and you're leaving the home that you guys had together, the place. And so you're like deep cleaning the entire place. It conjures up a lot of visuals while still being like universal in a sense, because it can mean different things for different people. So I really appreciate it. Depressing as hell as always, and we love it. Now we get to the final track on the standard edition of the album, Redline. Now, I think the standard edition of the album is quite good. This is one of my favorite Five Sauce songs probably of all time at this point. So I think this is a great place to end the album on. However, when on streaming, it's like the deluxe edition is basically the only version that's uploaded to streaming. So you don't really get like the idea that the standard edition exists and that Redline is the final song, the final verse, you know. And then I like the bonus tracks. I think they're really good. I think the deluxe edition also ends on a really good note with Tears, so we'll get there. However, I do think that like the standard edition needs its flowers. That's why I bought the two different versions, because sometimes I want to end it with Redline, and again, when I'm listening on my CD player and I'm walking somewhere, it's kind of like a task to like stop it, and then usually I want to loop it again. So sometimes I want to listen to the standard edition, so I wanted to end with Redline, and other times I want to listen to the deluxe edition. And of course I could have just burned a CD, but that's illegal. So I don't do that. No, I totally don't do that. So anyways, we're going to talk about Redline. This is probably the saddest song. It's very possible that it's the saddest song. And obviously that's saying a lot because we've been talking about some really sad songs already. But this one kind of hits in a way that is deeply uncomfortable, for me at least, personally. It's just so visceral in its description of sadness. It basically paints a picture of being at the train on the Red Line, right? I think is what it's called in London, the trains in London. And trying to pretend that you're all right. I specifically see it as like the morning after a really bad, like a bad night out, you know, a bad trip of sorts. And you're with somebody and you're trying to pretend that you're okay and that you're all right, but you just are not. You're like, life is just falling apart and you can't really play pretend anymore. And yeah, again, this like visual that's painted with these lyrics is just, it really hits you at a special place. At least for me, it hits me in a very special place in my soul. So the first verse goes, "It's hard to fake when I'm not faded. I thought I could prepare myself. When you asked me what's the matter, the actor says he hates himself." Okay. Okay. How do I talk about this without having a mental breakdown, without crying, without having a freak out? I don't know. So it's hard to fake when I'm not faded, as in it's hard to pretend that everything's all right when I'm not high, when I'm not on drugs, when I'm not drugged out. And I thought I could prepare myself. I thought I could do this, you know, like be normal, quote unquote, because how I actually am as a person is not, quote unquote, normal, right? When you ask me what's the matter, the actor says he hates himself. You know how on Stan Twitter people now use like gifs of people smoking. I feel like that's how I feel after reading that. I'm just like, you know, the switching of POV essentially from when you asked me what's the matter, the actor says he hates himself. It's like you're so disassociated from your own being that like you describe yourself like you're not saying like I'm acting and saying it's like the actor. I can't describe it any further. I could go deeper, but I can't actually. Like genuinely, for my own like mental well-being, I can't go any further into it. So we're just gonna keep going. We collided in the morning, screaming with the mission bell. We burnt the city without warning, reaching out for someone's help. So again, it describes like in the morning getting on the train and maybe not being high like I did either, or like on the come down, just like being plain, just like raw in the morning, waiting for the train and just like needing help, trying to reach out, not doing well with it. The chorus goes, how many times did we run from each other? How many times did I walk out the door? Into the dark, we're no good for each other. Into the dark, I'm not welcome no more. Because I've been spending all this time alone. I'm on the red line sinking Aperol, another vessel in a winter coat. So to me, this is like either a friendship or a relationship with a partner, like being kicked out basically, or running away, you know, from where you guys live together and running to the train early in the morning or super late at night, whatever, trying to like run from your life, some sort of bad situation, you know, and just spending your time alone on the red line, sinking Aperol is what gets me. Like, so that's what makes me think it's about like being hungover or like coming down from the high, no longer faded, but you know, still kind of in that aftermath, because it's sinking Aperol being like a alcohol, right? I don't drink. So you want to know why I don't drink? These lyrics. These lyrics are why I don't drink. No, I'm like only partially kidding. But yeah, sinking Aperol, like it's sinking out of you or whatever. Another vessel in a winter coat. Man, that's rough. That's tough. That's difficult for sure. The rest of it goes, lonely hours cut me so deep, the only part that gives me hell. A secret weapon no one showed me. Fall out of love, you lose yourself. So it's describing those lonely moments you have with yourself when you're all alone with your thoughts, with your life, and it's shit. It's just shit. Every hour ticking by, I think about you. I reminisce your memory, and what did I choose? A sentimental comedy, the joke is on you. It's on me too. So it's just no longer feeling whole, feeling separated from yourself, feeling just depressed as hell. And it ends with that line, the final verse, you know. And then we get a reappraisal of the chorus with, am I just waiting for my time to go? I hear the whistle for the doors to close. Another vessel in a winter coat. Now these lines to me, which are the final lines of the song, and technically the final lines of the whole standard edition of the album, to me it reframes what the red line is. The red line, in my opinion, in the context of this song, is no longer existing, maybe. Death, you could even say. And saying, am I just waiting for my time to go? Waiting for the doors to close, like, you know, to enter the red line and be done. Because you're just another vessel in a winter coat. And after that, we get this arpeggio piano that is just hauntingly, depressingly beautiful. And we hear the train, you know, beeps and whistles, and we hear the door open and the door close. And that's how the song ends, is with, assumedly, the person, the narrator, getting on the train. That's really sad. Yeah, that was just a good old depressing way to end the album. Yeah, That is fucked up. That is fucked up. And I won't describe it more because I'll probably have to content ID it on my channel, and then this video will get demonetized. So stew with that. Do with that information what you will. Have fun with that. So, yeah, I love that song. I think it's beautifully constructed, and while it is depressing as hell, and there's probably a more optimistic way to read the song, that's how I interpret it, and I think it's an interesting way to end the album in a way that encapsulates the feelings that, like, the narrator, that the character, the artist persona of Five Sauce, the kind of road that they were being led down based on all of these feelings and these emotions and these situations they were putting themselves in. And I think it's a prescient way to end the album, considering everything that we've endured, that we've been put through the rest of the songs, like all of the situations. It's a very real, tangible place that someone can go. Now, I am glad the deluxe version exists and that we get that ending. I think the deluxe edition, at the end of the day, is the better version of the album with the 5 extra tracks. I do think it's better, and I'm glad that it's like the more, like basically the version that people understand and listen to. It makes it quite a long album. Can I just say that normally I don't like albums over an hour long. I feel like a tight 50 minutes is like the sweet spot. That's the golden spot for a good album. But the best albums and my favorite albums are able to be long. I think this album's like an hour and 12, hour and 15 minutes. They're able to be long and justify the length and be cohesive enough. It doesn't feel like there's any filler on this album, like anything should be cut out or should go. I mean, if you're somebody who is not the hugest fan of Older, maybe you can cut that one song out, but that's just one song. And even then, I think it works. It plays really well on the album, and it fits in the style of what the album is trying to say. So, in general, overall, I really do think the deluxe edition is a good it serves the record more, and I like it more. I guess if that makes sense. I think it's better. So now we're going to move on to the deluxe tracks. I just felt the need to highlight the fact that there is a standard edition and there is a deluxe edition. In the same way for all their other albums. Like, I feel like with streaming these days, it all just kind of gets muddled. So, anyways. The next deluxe track is Mood Swings. I love this song because it's almost a bit sassy in a way. I think that's how I'm going to describe it, is as having a little bit of sass to it in its depression. I don't know. It's kind of hard to describe how those two things are molded together. It's cunty is what I'm trying to say. At the end of the day, it's a little bit cunty. So, yeah, this is another example of like the relationship being over. I won't emphasize it too much because we've already talked about it a lot with all the other songs. So we're getting repetition of content. However, the sound and the way it's presented does justify it, the similar material being kind of repeated. I think it justifies it. So the lyrics go, I can tell by the look in your eyes that you don't want to fight on a Friday night. Living my life, looking from the outside. I hope you don't mind that I ruined our time. I can tell by the look in your eyes that you don't want to get on a one-way flight because you don't ever trust this mind of mine. You're watching me lie when I say that I'm fine. Without you, I don't even know myself. And then in the background, know myself. Through bloodshot eyes, the sky is falling, and I just want to fucking push you away. So this is, the roughness of a relationship, of it being over, wanting it to be over, and even like having a different perspective in the sense that a lot of these songs describe the narrator not being over a relationship and the partner wanting to leave before the narrator does, but this one is kind of a role reversal, so it could describe a different situation. Obviously, these are all composite sketches, like I said, because there's 4 members and 4 different stories, quote unquote, experiences that are being contributed to the record as a whole. And it again describes that like back and forth, hot and cold relationship sort of thing, but from a different angle and perspective of things. But it overall is about the end of a relationship, right? I think the fact that this song is just so melodramatic and just like emo, just embracing the pure emo energy of the record is what speaks to me the most, and why I said it was cunty in a little bit. It's just so over the top and melodramatic in the way that it's sung, and that's what I love about it. That's what I think is really, really good. So I'll read the second verse. I can tell when you're slipping from me, even when it's only subconsciously, on the edge of the bed as you're falling asleep. I think I need you more than you need me. I know my mood's been swinging all day. Weaponized words can get in the way. Nothing I say ever coming out straight. When I pull through, hope you feel the same. So yeah, I love a good, sad song about a breakup. So that's about it, basically, for the breakup songs, and we get a few more uppers, slightly. Well, not really uppers, but like the two songs we have about relationships are uppers, and we get one more like kind of sad song, relatively. But we're done about sadness and relationships pretty much, so that's a good thing at least. So next we have Flatline. This is like the like alternative radio hit that never was, in my opinion. Apparently, I don't know where I heard this. This might just be a rumor, so take this with a grain of salt. But I heard somewhere that Flatline was actually supposed to be a single. Like it was originally like the lead single, and then it got demoted somehow to bonus deluxe track. Crazy, because I could see this playing really well to like alternative radio at the time. It reminds me a lot of the kind of sound that Foster the People were doing at this point in time. I do really like this song. It has that kind of like that swing to it while still being very kind of springy and upbeat. And this is pretty much a love song about somebody kind of helping you out of a bad time. So it goes, should have seen me like a year ago. I was someone you don't even know. Dark times kept me all alone. You were shining like a heart of gold. Someone just like you. No one else. Lights will guide you, so run like hell. So it's describing like if you would have known me a year ago, I was a completely different person. And my depression, dark times, right, kept me all alone. And you were the shining light in my life. And the light will guide you, so follow it. So run towards the light instead of, just walking or whatever. And then the chorus goes, oh, I'm falling for the first time. Heart is gonna flatline. Now I can't even look at you. You're like staring into sunshine, burning into my mind. Because I can't even look at you. I die all day and every night just to miss you. Oh, I'm falling for the first time. Heart is gonna flatline. Now I can't even look at you. There is something a little bit dark about describing being so in love with somebody that you would die. You might die. Your heart might literally flatline, stop beating. Again, very intense, very, very intense emotions. There's never just like, we like each other and we're comfortable. It's always like, I am gonna die with you, or I'm gonna die without you. It's, isn't that what this is all about at the end of the day? No one wants to hear a song about being like complacent. And if they did, it's its own vibe, right? So the next verse goes, people always say it's hard to change. I see the signs, I know it's hard to fake. I say I love you, I don't hesitate. And now I want to see you every day. So that's really beautiful, really cute. Just being in love with somebody, I don't even hesitate when I say I love you. And especially when like there's so much messiness in all the other songs, it is kind of a breath of fresh air, I will say. It does feel fresh. And also this song was not produced by Michael. It was produced by Rami Yacob and Sly. So you can tell that the production is a little bit, like I said, it's a little bit more like, not trendy, but it definitely fits more in that alternative kind of pop music energy that was happening at the time, which was cool. So yeah, a big fan of Flatline. Throw it on the set list, I say. I think that's a great set list song because it gets everyone going and it's a little bit of an upper, I have a feeling they won't do it for this next upcoming tour, but one day. They just have so many songs. I feel like they, it's kind of impossible. Everyone's version of a set list is going to have like their little special songs. Like to me, I'm like, I want Flatline. And also like, I'm a freak who would want airplanes in the modern day. I want them to play airplanes. I feel like it would work. But they probably would never do that. So, I just got to move on. Next, we have the song Emotions. Now, Emotions is the first ever solo Michael song. He's the only one who sings on it. Famously, we've had solo Callum songs, we've had solo Luke songs, and now we have a solo Michael song. I'm really hoping we get a solo Ashton song with the new album. We'll have to see. And yeah, I quite like this one. I think it's very pretty. It's very dreamy in the sense it kind of has this like standard lead guitar, little like plunking acoustic. And this is basically about being sad and being in your emotions and having to be okay with somebody else kind of like, you know, melding with it. The lyrics are very upfront and blunt and kind of like obvious, you know? It's not really trying to like poetically describe what it's saying. It's like literally just like, talk about it, I don't want to talk about it. Got too many things on my mind. You know, it's not trying to use metaphor to describe how it is. It's just being upfront with you about like, don't mind me, I'm just feeling kind of broken. If you need me, I'll be here with my emotions. And this is something that's nice to see on the record, even though it talks about being sad or talks about, you know, not feeling too well. It's like a little bit more upbeat in its understanding of like being in your emotions. Like this is a natural thing you need to do. You just kind of need to be sad for a little bit and have your little cry time so you can then like move forward, right? And like the bridge, doing my best, and I guess that's the best I can do. Where did I go wrong? I'm doing my best, and I guess that's the best I can do. Where did I go wrong, right? It's kind of like, it's something we'll see with the final song, Tears, where it's like sometimes the best way to move on and to actually feel better is to just go through the emotions. And so I think that that's really sweet and kind. And I like just how blunt it is. It feels very pop punk in that sense. It feels very Blink-182, where it's like, let me just describe things. We just you know, like a journal entry, like you're reading someone's diary in a way. Like it's quite sweet. And then after that we get Bloodhound, another one that I think is really great. Another one I would love to see them play live on tour. However, I know they won't, and that's fine. I'm excited for whatever they have in plan for the Everyone's a Star tour. It's probably going to be like super edgy and, you know, like conceptual and stuff. And so songs like Flatline and Bloodhound don't really fit in there, which is fine. But this would be a great touring song is what I'm saying, for like a festival even or something. So this one is kind of like about hanging out with your besties, going out and having a good time with your friends, not like a sad, depressing time trying to escape from your sins of your life. This one's like having fun out in the world, you know, and trying to just like appreciate and absorb all of the good vibes, like, and using the term of like a bloodhound, like trying to like be very hyper aware of your senses and how you're feeling when you're having a good time with the people you care about. So the song starts, I love the heat, I love the noise, I love my name inside your voice. Do you still feel it all? A million nights under the thumb. I know my life has just begun, and I want to feel it all. I want to feel it all. So that's really sweet. The chorus goes, Bloodhound, I'm picking up the vibes all round. I'm dumb enough to drown it out. No, I can't let it go. Bloodhound, I'm living in the violet sounds. I'll kick it with the friends I've found. Oh, I can't let it go. And I think that is really sweet, this idea of like just having fun, because, you know, as much as I've said that like, oh, drugs are bad, partying to, you know, escape your sadness, bad, you know, as much as I've been saying that, at the end of the day, there's a reason why people go partying, and a lot of them, they're doing just fine. They just have their little fun with their little drinks and their little dancing at the club, and then you go home and you're normal, you know? You're not how they are in You Don't Go to Parties. That's not everyone's situation, you know? So it's nice to see that, you know, you can find that balance and have fun with people. And it could be about a relationship, but I kind of see it more as like hanging out with your friends, you know? Well, it's like I'm kicking it with the friends I found, right? So then the second verse, which is sung by Michael, and it sounds really good, it's the most like modern slang they've ever tried to put in a song so far. It's the only time I've heard them ever use modern slang in their lyrics, and I think it's really funny, and it's kind of I've kind of grown to find it really endearing, even though it's gonna age a little bit weirdly, but then again, it's like, anyways, I'll read it. So it's, he sunk his teeth into the bone, he took an L and he won't go home. like he's gonna lose it all. He took an L. Well, okay, so that's like it's kind of a common phrase to be like, oh, L for like loss, something like that. Like he took, I feel like it is a very trendy, like gamer term, but I feel like you would still get what it means in 15 years. So I guess it's acceptable. But yeah, that is kind of a silly word to use, a silly term to use, but that's okay. The rest of it goes, it took a while for me to see, take off your mask on Halloween. You can let them see it all. So it's kind of like realizing that you don't have to have a front or have a fake. You can just, you can realize that you don't have to be playing pretend. Basically, take off your mask on Halloween. Just be yourself, buddy, And then the bridge, amazing bridge. I love how it just builds into this like very fun and energetic like bounce. And the bridge goes, we keep dancing when the room is on fire, spend all our money on our dirty desires. We keep dancing when the room is on fire, and I can't let it go. So again, there's like a little bit of like, in the sense of going out to party and stuff, and how maybe that there's some, negative or whatever, but yeah, there's just like a little bit of fun and just going out with your besties, and I think that that's really sweet and cute and a good time. So then we get into the final track, which is really exciting. We get into Tears. Now this is the official like final song off the album if you're listening on the deluxe edition, and I think it works really, really well as a final track. It's a little bit more optimistic, and I think that's a good thing at the end of the day versus Redline. But you know me, because I'm a depressing asshole. I love my good sad shit. I love my well-crafted sad shit. That's why I appreciate the standard edition so much. But this ending is just a smidge, just a little bit better, in the sense that like there's an acceptance. So thematically it probably does work. Thematically it does work really well as an ending. So also I've kind of memed the final. The first line a little bit, which is funny. So it goes, there's a hole in the sun, caving in and I feel it. And every time I hear the song, when he goes, there's a hole in the sun, I go, there's a hole in the what? like, oh God. I don't know, I just, like, it's almost like on the news, if you were to hear that sentence, you would like freak out. That's how I like to read that. But anyways. It starts, there's a hole in the sun, caving in and I feel it. I'm the fortunate one, push my luck when I need it. So there's a hole in the sun is kind of like describing, like there's a hole in the happiness. There's some depression present in my life, caving in and I feel it. Like I can feel the depression kind of like starting to cave over my life of joy. And then I'm the fortunate one, push my luck when I need it. Like I'm able to kind of like, deal with it basically, even though I should really like handle it more. I'm just kind of like pushing it away, I push my luck when I need it. I kind of like don't worry too much about it when it could actually be something that really destroys me. And he goes, sad, but what can I do? Burn the world and start over. Blacking out in my room. Wake me up when it's over. I'll feel better when I let myself sink deeper, deeper. I'll feel better when I let myself see clearer, clearer. So it's kind of describing like going into that dark, sad hole and just feeling your emotions. Again, like, don't mind me, I'll be here with my emotions kind of energy. Just like, let me just like curl up and be sad. I'll feel better when I let my thoughts sink deeper, deeper. Like once I actually think about it and just really just revel in the depression and in the angst, I will come out the other side feeling better. And I'll be able to see clearer, and I'll be able to be a better person essentially, which is a good thesis for the album as a whole. That's basically what the entire album has been, what the entire experience, all of these songs have been. It's just been like absolutely sinking into those most sad, depressing thoughts and letting them run through your system so you can then come out on the other end better. And so then the chorus goes, crying eyes, I don't need a reason to get high tonight. I just want to feel alive. Crying eyes, diamond tears, I want to see the other side. I just want to feel alive. So again, it's describing like, I don't need to like numb my feelings and my pain with drugs anymore. I don't need to get high anymore. I just need to let these feelings and emotions run through. And I just need to cry. I just need these tears, you know? And I just want to feel alive. I want to feel alive again. And you just got to let the emotions run through to let that happen. And then the chorus goes, hitting the ground, pulling me down, hitting the ground, pulling me down. And it repeats fears and tears. It just like repeats back and forth, and it hits really hard. So it really emphasizes, like the stings really emphasize that, like, you know, it's really, the tears and the fears are pulling me down, they're hitting me down, it's really, really affecting me, and that is what's going to get me on the other side. And then the second verse goes, it starts in the morning and it goes through my head. I go through the motions and it drives me to bed. And then repeating, I'll feel better when I let myself sink deeper. I'll feel better when I let myself see clearer. So it's like, I wake up in the morning and I have my depressive episode and I just go to bed and I just sit in bed all day. What do they call it these days? Bed rot? Sometimes you just need to bed rot. This song is describing bed rotting, which is very fun. For me, at least. Because I think it's a natural process, I guess, you know? And then the bridge, another really good bridge, by the way, goes, diamonds turn to puddles, no one's feeling what I'm feeling. Violence in the darkness, are you seeing what I'm seeing? I was going 50 rounds of uppercuts, I'm bleeding. I swear to God, no one is feeling what I'm feeling. So this is that classic edgy, I mean, they're outright just saying it. It's like, no one understands me. Ugh, let me do my fringe flip, right? Ugh, no one understands me. No one gets me. Which, you know, sometimes you just need to tell yourself that. Like, no one can relate to what I'm feeling. I'm real, you know, I'm so unique and special. And then you realize that it's universal. I mean, like, cutting it to wax itself already, I think, proves just how universal it is. The fact that we can all relate to this, you know? The fact that we can relate to feeling like no one can relate to us. Isn't being human just fun? But that line, diamonds turn to puddles, because previously in the chorus it was diamond tears, right? So like these diamond tears turn to puddles, like I'm just crying so much. And then violence in the darkness, as in like it's hard. Like it's genuinely hard. Like going 50 rounds of uppercuts and I'm bleeding. Like you don't realize how difficult it is to go through this shit, to write this album basically. How messed up and hard and difficult it is to like relive these feelings and go through them. It's like literally getting punched in the face and bleeding. And maybe, and you know what, maybe I can't relate to that because I've never done something like this before. So, you know, fair enough, honestly. I'm willing to say fair enough. But then ending the album, the entire album, this whole situation is with, I want to see the other side. I just want to feel alive, I think is a great way to end the album off on. While Redline is maybe succumbing to the pains and the sorrows of your life, this one is overcoming it, or wanting at least to overcome it and be happy on the other side. So that's really beautiful. And I think that that's a great way to end the record out on. So that was 5 Sauce 5, y'all. Damn, have I been talking for a long ass time. It always hits me every single time. I start at a normal hour of the evening, relatively. Like, you know, an hour or two after your average dinner time. And then once I'm done, it's like 1 a.m. It's like, holy shit. However, I couldn't be happier doing this. This is so fun. I love doing this so much, genuinely. So as for some of the other singles, let me get my notes back. Got my notes here on the bed this whole time. As for the rest of the singles, we got Older. They got a music video for Older. It's a really cute video where, cute, it's an apocalyptic situation where the world is ending. And we see a bunch of couples and just like friends hanging out and you know, spending their final moments on Earth together. So it definitely comes across, it gives across that sentiment of the song, which is like, you know, love at the end of the world, aka losing your partner, right? Very sweet. And another single that we got was, I already said Bad Omens. Bad Omens was, the music video for Bad Omens dropped when the album dropped, I'm pretty sure, and then Older came after. So those were, you know, we got plenty of music videos during this era, which was nice. Especially now because we have, for Everyone's a Star, we have 3 singles and only 1 music video. So it was nice that pretty much almost every single got a music video. So that's pretty cool. So anyways, other than that, Five Sauce went on the Five Sauce show tour. I didn't write down when that happened. Wait, I had to have. So the Take My Hand tour was originally from, oh god, where is it on my list? Why did I lost it? Okay, it was from April 3rd to December 10th, 2022. So then in 2023, in August or in July, it is announced that they're going on the Five Sauce Show tour, which is basically themed around their 10-year anniversary special. So it's very interesting how things kind of shifted, you know, pretty much. And this is when I saw Five Sauce live again for the second time. I've had the poster on my wall this whole time, next to the Dork poster, which is from this era as well. Again, I think it's very funny that I previously had the Rolling Stone article cover as on my wall where they were naked, and now I have one where they're covered in a blanket. I gotta get the new Dork cover though, where they're in the fishnets and the eyeliner and everything. I gotta get that on my wall next. But anyways, the Five Sauce Show tour went from July, I'm pretty sure they played some shows in July, but it mainly started in August and went from August to October, which isn't that long when you think about it, but they played a lot of shows still, nonetheless, and they went to a lot of different places. And after that, they ended up releasing another live performance video live in Amsterdam on December 21st, 2023. So if you wanted to see parts of, not the full extent of this tour on YouTube for free, you can go watch it. It was a really cute little, you know, remembrance and sort of like, again, encapsulating the same energy of like a variety show that the 10-year anniversary special kind of had, where they're very referential of their past lives, and they kind of play a large medley of many different songs. Don't Stop ended up on the set list somehow again. They did they were clearly, you know, every tour is inspired by the Eras tour because it's just the literal biggest tour of all time. So something that they clearly were inspired by was like the secret song thing, right? Every artist does that nowadays, where they pick a random deep cut and they decide to play it, and each show has a different song, right? Great stuff. But they had a dice. So they had this massive inflatable dice that they would throw into the audience. And whatever, the audience would have to bring the dice back onto the stage, and whatever song it landed on, they would play. And if the audience didn't get it back on the stage within like 90 seconds or something, then they would pick the song. The song that got picked for my show was Wrapped Around Your Finger. Now that's famously my favorite Five Sauce song, so I kind of lost my mind. It kind of made my world change. It changed me fundamentally as a person. Also, that show fucked me up. I got so sick. I got very, very sick when going to that show. I genuinely ran myself ragged. I lost my voice for like 2 weeks. If you watch my Sweet Life on Deck video, which was recorded like a week after I'd gotten back from the show, I still sound like shit. Because, yeah, that moment in time fucked me up. But it was for the better, because it was great. And I'm going to see them live again for the Everyone's a Star tour. I already got my tickets during the presale, and I have no money. I have no more money left. But that's okay. I'll do anything for Five Sauce. I've famously said before in the past that, like, I'm perfectly... It's kind of depressing how okay I am with Five Sauce just draining my bank account. So that's about all I have to say about Five Sauce 5. At the time of me recording this, their 6th studio album, Everyone's a Star, will be coming out very, very soon, and I'm hoping I can turn this around before the album comes out, because then I'm going to stay up till midnight, and maybe, possibly, we'll see how, if I end up reacting weirdly or it doesn't work out, then I won't post it, but I'm going to attempt to record a reaction video for Everyone's a Star. First time I've ever done any sort of reaction video of anything, ever. So, we're gonna see how that goes. It might not work out, but it might work out. We'll have to see. But yes, sorry if this video was all over the place, or if I sounded like a wild, you know, crazy person. I just love this album so much, and it's really hard for me to try and like quantify that, how much I appreciate and love it. So I tried my best, but I might not have fully come across the best. I don't know. We'll have to see. But overall, like I said, thank you guys so much for watching. Feel free to like and subscribe. Check this whole Five Sauce series out on Spotify if you want to listen to it on your daily commute, your walk to the grocery store, your sipping drinks at the coffee shop, you know, whatever. I'd appreciate it. I'd love it so much. And thank you for watching if you're here on YouTube as well. I genuinely, it's such a blessing that I'm able to do this and that people watch the videos. At least some people do. A lot of people don't, but enough people do. And to where I feel happy. And also, I would do it anyways, even if only 5 people watched or 0 people watched, because I just love it so much. So, yes, thank you guys so much for watching. Everyone's a star. I'm very excited, and I feel like this was a good ode to 5 Sauce 5 that I think it deserves. And we're definitely not going to stop talking about 5 Sauce now that we're done with the 5 Sauce series, which feels crazy. I'm going to have more things to say. I always will. But we're going to move on to bigger and brighter things as the channel moves on. So, yes. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!